Honest and
what's up?
Yo,
What's up? We went live early because you know what? Fuck it.
do what we want.
We do whatever the fuck we want. I guess this is gonna be a cursing stream. I just realized.
Oh, I can curse?
Oh yeah. And I might have just gone too far with it. We'll see. Maybe. Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to Honesty Hour on Hyper RPG. We're early because the other stream ended early, so why not start talking and hanging out with you guys? This is for the people that are wondering who we are. I'm Zach. I run this channel. I'm the CEO of Hyper RPG.
Hi, I'm AJ. I play Thomas Detective Cross over on Valiant Vanquish every Monday at 6 o'clock. I'm also on my day job a programmer over at Harebrained Schemes.
R.I.P. Beta. R.I.P. Beta. Man with the Yoda shirt right off the bat. Feeling better, Zach? No. Not. So it's going to be a fun honesty hour. It's going to be one of those. I already told AJ it's going to be an interesting one because anytime I'm hurting, it always gets dark and deep.
I'm ready to go there.
So we're going to go dark and deep because I don't feel good, so fuck it.
And like I said earlier...
You suffer the consequences.
It's going to be fun too because I actually have medical conditions too, so if anything else, I'm hoping to relate. At least
I'm
give
sure
you some
we
experience.
will relate. Yeah, we will relate. And you'll
Okay.
be like, why don't you take care of yourself better? And I'll be like, stop it, Mom!
Oh no, I'm not going to do that because I take shit care of myself.
Okay, good. Yeah. I hear from Malika constantly
Mash.
anytime I bring anything up. She's like, well, you're an idiot. I'm like, well, yeah, but, come on.
Is that what I think it is?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Really?
So, Malika offers s'mores to us, and she made a special s'more with cookies as the graham cracker.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
That is like,
yeah.
you're gonna get your Mountain Dew and a s'more. You're gonna get a sugar coma before we get halfway through this show. You know that, right?
You know that both my mother and my father have diabetes type 2.
All right.
I'm taking care of myself.
Did the Saturday stream wreck you, Zach, or just normal life? So normal life in an extreme sense over the last month and a half kind of adding up. Oh, Lizzie's already on you, man.
Oh god.
Normal life mixed with the last couple months of just pushing way too hard. So I've been operating on about 2 hours of sleep a night for the last week because my pain levels have gotten skyrocket high out the fucking window, and I'm not helping. So that's why I took Monday off, was to just try to sit at home, answer emails, and try to let my body heal a little bit, but it hasn't been working. So we're talking about trying to see medical help. We'll see if I do or not. I keep hoping that it'll just kind of like start getting better, pushed a little hard. So
Yeah, like the piece of advice I always give is that I tried to do that for 3 years, like right when me and Liz first got married. I tried to push through a lot of stuff for a very long time and just think it'd get better, and it never did. Especially hard because especially when you're pre-25, it does get a little bit better after time, even if it doesn't go away
but once
entirely.
you get over 30, you're like, nope, this is just all downhill from here, man. It's just, I'm all downhill. Dark. Yeah, so yeah, I'm pretty anxious right now. And it's not about going to the doctor, guys, and this is something I was trying to explain to Malika, and I know I sound like a defeatist, but I went through like 3 years of going to the doctor, and my condition, there's not a cure for it. There's not really a good cure for chronic pain that allows me to continue being functional and running a channel full time.
You're a zebra.
Huh?
You're a zebra.
What do you mean?
So, everyone in the world is horses. They have horse problems, you have horse shoes, but there are a couple people in the world who are zebras running along horses that are kind of like horses, but they're not at all. You're one of those zebras. You have a chronic, rare condition that usually is less than, I think they less than 1 in 10,000, 1 in 100,000, where they've heard of it, because technology is, but the actual cure.
Sub! What? Twitch Prime!
I love
Twitch Prime! Use this as a reminder for all those people that maybe haven't relinked their Twitch Prime accounts. Subscribe now! You got time after that subscription doesn't auto-renew to hit that button again and keep your run to get that loyalty badge. Thank you, new subscriber Xbox
Thank you so
Mania.
much.
Thank you for that. Thank you for subscribing. Yeah, quick reminder though, everybody that's tuning in, Twitch Prime does not auto-renew your subscription. So if you subscribe to us last month and you want to keep building up those subscriptions to get those loyalty badges, just like that!
Subscriber.
Malika's dancing over there, you guys just can't see it.
Whew.
There we go.
It's gonna be one of those
Pretty
shows.
great. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah. We're already 2 subscribers. Every 5 we give away a Steam key. Does the amount of dancing on your channel affect your pain levels? Yes. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Maybe we can keep it to the
But
same
we
dance
get
today.
less subscribers when we don't dance. QQ, they're saying the music and sound effects are loud. I'm not sure she's in there. Can you tell her? I'm not sure she's in there. To do the. I'm not sure she does know how. She says she knows how, but I don't think she does actually.
There's a lot of buttons out there.
Yeah, she knows how to turn off the stream. So yeah, we'll work on that. We'll get that, guys. So we're probably gonna talk about that tonight because you will see me fidgeting all night because I won't be able to relax because of the anxiety levels. So we will definitely dive into that. We'll talk about updates to the channel, things that are going on, the Halloween stream, what we're planning with all that stuff.
I'm sorry I missed that. I was really sad.
We missed not having you there, man. It
Yeah.
was a fun day.
It was like a weird one because we agreed to go to a murder mystery 2 months in advance.
Oh wait, okay, tell me about it. How was it?
It was amazing. I've never done these things before. It's How to Host a Murder. You can get those at like your neighborhood game store, and you have up to 8 people. You get into costume, and each one plays a suspect, and you don't know who the actual killer is. Not even the killer knows. And then every round you get a new piece of information. You have to start role playing it out. And in between each one, you get a meal. So it's actually a 4-course meal. And then at the end, you find out who it is, and everyone guesses. And it's, if you have never done it before and you have some friends and you can be ridiculous, it's totally worth doing. But at the same time, it's like, I was really looking forward to coming over here for Halloween.
Yeah. It was fun. It was a fun day. It was great.
You want to kill us, don't you?
Oh yeah, so thank you guys for checking out that episode of Tabletop that I was on today. I appreciate that. It was fun. You know, you guys, a lot of you know the bits we do on Twitch, so you know that a lot of my whole act was a bit, and but I do think it's funny because there was a lot of lead-in to that bit that all got cut out, and also an outro to that bit that got cut out, so it just makes me look like I actually am only there to fuck things up. I understand editors have to tell a story though, so you gotta, like, everyone has their part, and in that, I was the heel, and I should be. Gave them the most material to be the heel and to be the sore loser kind of character. So it was a fun bit to play, but it was funny because they cut out the intro to that and the outro, which was kind of like, I love all these guys, and these are, you know, we used to run a channel together on Twitch. And
that doesn't sell though, that's the honest truth. It's
well,
like,
yeah. If you're honest about it and you're kind of like, yeah, we used to do this show every week, and Becca always cheats, and we would always find a way to try to make her not win, but she would always win. So this whole goal today is to make sure she loses. Like, when you cut out that intro, it just looks like I'm a huge dick. But you guys know who I am, so you get it. It is funny though, because when you just watch it without that context, you're like, wow, fuck this guy.
it's actually kind of funny because like I am a Twitch and general streaming neonate before I even joined this channel. But everyone I did, they have very clearly defined roles, and they would not break from that. Mm-hmm. And so once we came to this channel where it's fairly open, you know, we have our in-character moments, but we kind of say, you know, this is fake, everyone's friends here. It's nice and refreshing, but usually I'm just used to, it's like, okay, that's the asshole, he will stay an asshole every time I see him.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry. Important news just happened. Cubs just won the World Series. If you guys don't know, they haven't won since 1908. It was the longest standing drought since the Red Sox won a couple years ago. Congratulations, Rai. Even though he's really going to be happy.
You legit thought, well, the editing doesn't do Zach any favors. Yeah, they cut me out of
I just hope my friends are
a lot of
safe.
it.
I feel like this used to have like a Rai dancing leprechaun moment.
I'm really just like anxious about it
You're anxious about it?
because I know what happens
When you win things?
Oh, there's going to be a
I
riot.
know what Wrigleyville is like on a usual Cubs lose night, like any day of the night, and then this.
Like when they set cars on fire.
Yeah, shit's gonna go down.
I am totally sorry that I just broke everything for that, but
I'm just texting my friend and be like, hey, hope you're
Oh,
okay.
yeah. I don't even know what you guys were really talking about, so a little out of my realm of understanding.
so the weird thing is I'm a total geek, but I'm also a sports geek, and the reason is because growing up that
It
was
makes
the only,
sense. They're very similar. Like
They
comics,
are.
sports, all that stuff. I just didn't get into it.
Yeah. Honestly, it was the only reason I did is because it was the only thing me and my dad could actually relate on. And to this day, we'll like talk, we'll get deep for like 5 minutes. There'll be a minute of awkward silence, and it'll be like, so, did you see the Iowa Hawkeyes? Because we grew up when I was a little kid in Iowa City, which has literally nothing there. And then from there, we could actually have a conversation for an hour about any sport. And so, like, to this day, that's how I connect with my dad, is through different sports.
My dad tries, and I'm just like, no, Dad, I don't, no. Yeah, I think a lot of gamers are sports fans because there are so many similarities. I'm the kind of person where I was never able to really get into. I liked playing sports when I was a kid, and then when my condition got really bad and I had to stop. Now I think there's this level of like, well, even when I was younger, I never liked watching them. I always wanted to just play them. Like I was a big basketball player, and I liked, I would know enough about the NBA and March Madness and stuff to kind of know who was who and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, I'd still prefer to just go outside and play than watch it.
That makes sense.
And I've always been that way. I was like, I don't want to watch somebody else have fun. I want to go do something. But then when I got my condition, now it's more like, oh, fuck those people that can run around all day. Yo, fuck them.
I think I can understand that.
Yeah, I get mad at them. I'm like, fuck you guys. I want to do that, but I can't, so I'm not gonna watch this.
Yeah.
I'll watch something superhero related because I can do that. And that's how my brain works.
It's actually the weirdest thing for
What's
me.
up, Todd Overton? Thank you for that follow.
Thank you for
Very
the follow so
appreciate
much.
it. For those that are just tuning in that may not know who we are, what we're doing, why the hell you're watching, so this is Honesty Hour, and Honesty Hour is a show that's not usually an hour long, it's usually longer. Hey!
Money.
Here's a consolation prize for losing to Becca.
Thank you, Will Wheaton, who I'm sure is not actually Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
But either way, I do appreciate them inviting me to be on the show.
Okay, I can beat you fair and square.
Ooh! I knew I wasn't gonna win. They also cut that part out where I basically said, like, I absolutely knew. You asked me to be on a show with Ivan, Becca, and Will, who play board games for a living. That is what they do for a living. I produce them. So I came into it knowing I could not win, that it was impossible to win, so better to be a shit disturber. There's no way. Oh, come on. Did anyone actually think that I would win? Did you really think that? Come on.
I think the only thing I will ever expect you to win is HeroClix.
Yeah, which I could. I went into strategy on that one and I studied it, but I did no, I was about to say there wasn't a side of me that thought I would win.
So I wanted to just throw you out there right now. You know that my boss is the creator of HeroClix.
Yeah, I know that. That's how I met him.
Yeah. I think
I met him playing HeroClix. Sorry. Oh my god. Malika invited him to come play HeroClix. She made the introduction. I still met him playing HeroClix.
But there's a very key.
But did you know?
I don't like being edited out as much as you don't.
Do you know that she was in Iron Man 2?
3.
Oh, I'm sorry, 3. I love you, Malika.
Retroactively. I can also go into other movies.
But I'm saying you need to someday bring back the HeroClix.
Yeah, believe me. It's been talked about a lot. Jordan wants it to come back too. We've just been talking about how to do it in a way, of course, that's like hyper RPG level. But if we're gonna do it, I've already done it once.
You need to kick it up.
If we're gonna do it again, how do we do it with graphical overlays? We've talked about how to do a system to where when you're using a certain character, that character's card comes up, shows how many hits they've had, what click they're on, all that kind of stuff. This has all been discussed.
See, here's what
all
you
being
do.
discussed.
You already did the Battletech MechWarrior thing where you made him about 4 times as big.
Yeah.
You need to make him 8 times as big. Have full size HeroClix.
Come on, no.
You have to actually pull a lever to bring him up.
No.
Okay, this is why I'm not a show producer or anything like that.
No, already Battletech costs too much money to do. I already have thousands of HeroClix. Let's just use them.
Money.
I was in Iron Man 3, AJ, and I come from a family of chefs.
This is the world you created, Malika.
I'm fine by that. I'm not ashamed of my life decisions.
I love you
That's
guys
the
so
same,
much.
That's what I use when I talk to the dog.
No, I'm aware.
It's,
I'm aware. There's a dolphin in the studio, is what the chat room said. So like I said, for those that don't know, this is Honesty Hour. We get real. We talk about stuff. I update everyone on the channel. I'm gonna trying really hard to focus, and we're gonna talk to AJ tonight. You guys can ask questions. I'll start answering questions from the Discord in a little bit. If you are a subscriber, you can ask questions in the Discord for Honesty Hour, and we'll try to get to them. We'll start going through them and answering all your questions about the channel, and we'll talk to each other, and we'll talk to you guys, hang out, and we'll continuously encourage new people to come in to follow and subscribe and help us keep doing the amazing shit that we're doing. Okay.
You got this, man.
Let's do this. Let's hop into the Discord here.
And just really quick, I'm seeing you guys on chat. I'm just really slow at talking and reading at the same time, so I'm working on that because my show, we're not allowed to actually look at the chat.
It would be a disaster.
Oh god, that'd be terrible.
It would be such a disaster. So to saying for the 100 bits, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Zach, could you do a Skype HeroClix game? That way you can include Hector. You know, we are building Hyper RPG South right now, so why would I do that? Why would I not just let Hector play HeroClix? Wouldn't I do that?
Really? They wanted me to tell the story of how I betrayed Liz in Game of Thrones.
Oh, that's a story?
Not really. I was in a rock and a hard place. I was losing. I had war on two sides, and Mike McCain, the game director for BattleTech, came over and was like, "Look, if you don't attack me in my war with Liz, I will destroy you."
Oh!
Subscriber.
Oh, shit! 2 more, we do a stinky giveaway, what? I've seen you get down at Strix's engagement party. I told him to make you dance like that.
Oh, you mean the anime dance?
You better bring the moves tonight, AJ. I'm believing in you. Thank you, Godman, for that subscription. We really appreciate it. Thank you
so much
for contributing to Hyper RPG. And just to be clear, I understand we have a lot of subscribers on this channel, and we appreciate that so much. Our content is free though, and it will always remain free. So we appreciate your support, but if you can't subscribe and you just don't want to, all the people that do make it available for you. So it will always be free, but it's because of the people who do. So even if you don't, at least show some appreciation to all the people that have, because it's because of them that we are allowed to do this content for free for anyone who wants to watch. And it will always stay that way. Okay, so Maddie Pick asked on October 29th, as you'll be reading this next week, what have the numbers been like for October having Twitch Prime, Cineverse, and NYCC? Because if I recall correctly, you said it costs around 40k a month to keep the Ojimbo running. Well, I'll be totally honest with you. October was a shitty month. That being said, that's partly why we had to do the big drive at the end of the month, which was fun, and I'm glad we did it. And you guys fucking rallied, and it was amazing. And if we have to do that every month to kind of rally everybody, we will. That being said, it went from being the month that we were the most scared of to being a month that we're now like, okay, cool, we got this. So yeah, and there were some good things that came through. Like we had a deal with Amazon that paid okay, like it was decent. Then we had our sub numbers went up, but those take about a month and a half to come in. It was a weird month for us to pick up a new show. And then have a lot of the other numbers drop. So that was kind of weird. But, you know, I think now things are good, and we're going to keep moving forward and cross our fingers and hope that shit just keeps moving up. But yeah, that's but the sub numbers were great this month. You know, I think it's one of those things we've seen too, that like when a lot of subs are coming in, less tips usually come in. And when a lot of tips come in, less subs come in. It's that kind of like when you see that happening a lot, like, I don't know, like it creates this like, oh, they're fine.
Yeah, it's the herd mentality.
Yeah.
It's like if you have only 2 people and the person's drowning, you're gonna be more likely to save them. But if it's like 100 people, then it's gonna be a lot harder.
The first time they ever watched Hyper RPG was the episode where you died.
Oh,
And they thought
man.
it was cool that we had permadeath on that show. So your death was their gateway to Hyper RPG. So congratulations.
I appreciate
I like how
that.
it says it with a question mark. So congratulations.
Yeah, that death was one of the weirdest experiences of my life. Just for the fact that... Money.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for keeping me entertained at work. Can't be in the chat too much, but appreciate the content a lot.
Sweet. Yeah. By the way, guys, we do have a new subscriber goal. When we get to 2,000 subs, apparently I am going to be the gatekeeper.
Yes! That game was the worst game I've ever played in my life, and I want to play again.
Though, right?
It's like...
Maggots!
You get, like, it's the only game I've ever played where you're not playing with the other players, but at the same time you have this sense of camaraderie because you hate the gatekeeper so much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to answer your question, it was the weirdest experience, probably one of the weirdest of my life, because on one hand, you know it's fake.
Yeah.
From the get-go, like, when I came into the show, Zach was like, okay, this is permadeath. That means if you roll bad, you're gonna die. We knew this every week in, week out. At the same time, you still lose kind of a piece of yourself, and then you can't really be that upset. Hello there, Claudia.
Atmosphere is one of my favorite games as a child. I'm asking, I am begging if I can be somehow a part of that game.
You mean Nightmare?
I had the DVD version,
Yeah?
which is Atmosphere.
Oh, okay. Okay.
What happens?
Yeah, okay.
Pinky promise?
No, I'm not doing that.
Handshake?
I'll say that it's on my brain and it's been brought to my attention.
Okay, can I run away now?
Yeah, cool. Great.
I wish I had her energy. Like, I want to bottle it up. Like, I don't think I was ever that energetic in my entire life.
Ooh.
I envy it.
So, yeah, somebody said something about they were surprised to see some numbers go up. Hey!
Money.
I'm full of chili, but I cooked bacon. Must eat bacon, also eggs. Why did I make eggs?
I don't know, Zargaros, and I don't know why you feel the need to tell us every Wednesday what you're eating on Wednesday night. So yeah, somebody said they saw the sub numbers rise a lot, but our viewer numbers didn't necessarily rise that much. So I know what happened there. Geek and Sundry changed their scheduling to where they were no longer usually streaming after 6 p.m. So a lot of the Geek and Sundry viewers came over, saw, oh, I'll use my Twitch Prime sub here because I like some of these people, but a lot of them don't necessarily watch. Some have, and some have stuck around. I don't think a lot do, so I'm afraid that a lot of them will leave because Geek and Sundry hosted us for like that first week after they went live at 6. Thanks to some sleuthing by some people in there. So some of the mods were hosting us and stuff, and that translated to a lot of people like, oh, cool. But what we've seen is a lot of those people don't come back. I think a lot of them have like this sense of like really strong brand loyalty to GNS, and we've found that a lot of GNS viewers don't necessarily watch other streams, and part of that might be because there hasn't been this feeling at GNS, which was something I tried changing a lot when I was there, about rating and like spreading the Twitch love and all that kind of stuff. So they keep it very in-house, which is really good for all the hosts on GNS, honestly, like really good. So it's not necessarily bad.
Money.
But I think
I
that's
didn't
what-
understand it, but let Claudia do whatever she was talking about.
Cool. Thanks, KB Tibbs. That's pretty much what everyone says. That's pretty much what everyone says. But that being said, I think that's why we saw a lot of numbers grow, but not necessarily in a like high numbers amount of average viewers. Now we still have had a lot of new viewers, and though like so those sub numbers also went up a lot because we do have front page rotation on Monday nights and sometimes Friday nights, we would get subs during those time frames, and sometimes someone would follow, come back later, subscribe. It doesn't necessarily mean that our average numbers are going up really high. You need a lot more subs for those average numbers to start rising all around.
I'm still trying to figure out what is the secret of Twitch in terms of the sub numbers to followers, because it seems like on the outset, just like on analytics thing, you think a lot of followers equals a lot of subscribers, but the more people I talk to, the more that followers don't mean anything for anything.
No, they don't. So there's a lot of stuff that I don't necessarily want to say on screen. So here's the thing: we've been in an interesting. In the past, I would say everything about how we do things, about how things work, about the insider knowledge of Twitch and stuff like that. And then I started realizing that a lot of that is really valuable. When I started seeing a bunch of people copying a lot of things that I do. And I didn't
Trade secrets.
I didn't take pride in the fact that I was like, oh shit, a lot of that stuff's my research that I put into it. So there is a science behind sub-follower conversion rates. I know a lot of how it works, but I don't necessarily want to say how.
I think that's fair enough, and I think
Just like a lot of people ask me to do a lot of behind the scenes stuff of like how our studio works, and now that we have a lot of other RPG shows popping up, that we want to help, but at the same time, I don't necessarily want to say like, yo, here's all the trade secrets of the software we've custom built and found new ways to use that nobody else can figure out. Like, here's the thing that me and my brother figured out that some people have had to hire like crews of 20 to replicate. Like, we don't necessarily want to be like, here's how you do it. So I'm kind of holding off for now on all that stuff until it becomes common knowledge, and I'll be like, yeah, okay, yeah.
Thank you for the bits.
Whew.
Subliminal messages in all streams.
It's okay, Impossible Girl 11. I mean, that's why we put everything up on YouTube too, and I appreciate your sub, and I'm not trying to guilt anyone at all, I hope that never feels like that. That's right, Bob Lower Death, and it wasn't until recently that I started taking pride in that. And it wasn't until I actually started seeing like, oh shit, like catching direct people, and I will never say who, but like catching other streamers being like, oh shit, that's my idea. Oh, I need to stop giving everyone those ideas for free and just throwing everything out there. Like, I talk too much sometimes.
It's a hard lesson to learn because you kind of have the inclination to be giving. Like, you kind of learn that, especially, I know you're from Southern family, and like the first thing you learn is giving. But
oh yeah, just share everything.
You share, really, but it's about trade secrets. It's about protecting what's yours first, and then growing. And once you're in a position where you're comfortable, then you can be more giving again.
Malika said I can share after I pay off my student debt. Yeah. Yeah, I know, Zargras. I gotta stop giving away trade secrets. It's bad too, because I'll let like other people come by and like check out our setup, and I'll be bragging about it, and then I'm like, wait, they're totally gonna try to mimic this. The good news is I've seen a couple of them try and fail, because they're missing that certain bit of crazy that actually makes it work.
The crazy.
Yeah,
TM.
the crazy. They're all saying so never. Like,
here's a good question. What's your favorite trade secret? I'm just answering for them. I'm the will of the people.
Trade secret. I mean, when it comes to Twitch, it all is, because this is such new territory. Like, this is all like, hey, Rectus Maximus. Thank you.
Thank you.
Follow. There's so many, because it's all like happening in real time. It's like we're discovering things as we go.
I mean, to be honest, like when I first found Twitch, I used it 100% for esports. That's it. I didn't even know there was another side to it. And then it slowly came up, and now I almost do nothing but alternative streams. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, and it's still evolving and growing, and I'm excited and scared to see how they go.
Thanks, Malika. You really like watching everyone play Nightmare the other night. I felt like I got to know the cast better, and now I look forward to exploring other stuff they're in. Well, that's the idea, so I'm glad. Thank you for that, too. I've been camping the Hyper RPG shop on Amazon. I was wondering if the Hyper RPG dice with the Thumper logo might one day be something we could buy, too. Aximilian, thank you for that question. Unfortunately, I don't know, because Amazon's not selling dice. So we'd have to find a reseller somewhere to do that. It might be one of the things that we could buy in bulk and then sell ourselves through our website. Maybe. It's a good idea though. And we want to start breaking more into the RPG world. And that's something we can talk about tonight too, is like my plan for 2017 is pretty ambitious. And part of that is us becoming kind of a board game and tabletop RPG lifestyle kind of company.
Does that mean I get my own action figure?
No. That's not what that means. Why would that mean that?
Because, you know, tabletop, board games, action figures.
You want to be like a meeple?
I guess it would be a meeple, wouldn't it?
Like, we'll just make a little meeple and we'll be like, AJ. We'll just write AJ on it.
Shit. Those are some good questions. I want to hear about that. Someone did ask in chat who was better for me to play, cross or beta. they're different in their own ways. Beta was easier because that was a character I kind of made to my own likeness.
It's more like you.
Yeah, like it was his naturally thing. Cross is very, very difficult for me to play because he is very close to the vest. He's also pretty much, I would say, by a good number of years older than anyone else on the cast. So he's not going to be outgoing. Geist is, on the other hand, really easy for me to play, and he's a lot of fun for me to play because it's like everything I want to hold back, even in real life. I say, does AJ not want to do this? Geist will do it. It's like, do I want to insult someone? No. All right, Geist will do that. Beta answer. So yeah, to answer your question, I would say I like them all a lot, but I would say Cross has been more fulfilling for me. Beta was definitely like AJ light. AJ who was smarter than AJ.
Okay, so I'm gonna start answering some more Discord questions because there's been a lot coming in the chat, and I want to make sure I get to these. So, no, it's okay. That's how we do it. So Zach, what was it like knowing Malika's high school films were better than your college ones?
Ooh, that sounds spicy.
I got mad respect for that girl. Why you think I'm dating her, yo?
Well played. Well played.
Krellin, have you actually seen any payout, like actual checks from Twitch on bits yet? Have they made any significant contribution? Yes, bits have. So bits have been good, and what we've seen is a lot of new people to the channel are more likely to use bits, but our tips have been down. So we're currently concerned if bits are going to end up in the long run, meaning we make less money because they take such a large percentage of the bits. So we'll see. We'll see. It's hard to know after 1 month, really. It's only kind of been like one solid month. So we'll see. Denoyo, thank you for that. Thank you for that. At the end of the day, it's support. We're never going to say no to support. We're just trying to like see exactly what... we don't have enough data yet to really know.
You said something today on the comic show earlier that I thought was ingenious, and I want to say it again just so that magically Twitch hears. To be able to use bits to buy products from Amazon, because I think that's ingenious, and it would help.
Especially comic books on, like, because right now you can use Amazon coins on Comixology, and it's like, yo, come on. Let us use bits to buy comic books.
And then imagine like this overlay saying, I'm reading this comic.
Boom! Done. Yo, let me do your brand engagements, Amazon. Let's talk. We do talk a lot, actually. It's fine. Amazon's actually been really great to us. We talk a lot, but there are a lot of really large companies under one umbrella, and it's not as easy as being like, yo, you guys should do this thing. They kind of laugh, like,
I've learned from my years there's this thing called the speed of business, and the speed of business is much slower than real life and much faster than real life.
Yeah, in some ways.
Yeah, it's glacier until it's like tomorrow.
The thing I like is, like, as a Twitch channel, everything has to be immediate. When you have people that are watching your channel 6 hours a day, after you've been doing something for a week, they're fucking bored by it, and they want you to update it. But when we're dealing with other companies, they don't understand that. So they'll be like, oh, we'll get to this next month. I'm like, no, I need it now! I need it now! Boltstar12, I know I see you in the chat talking about lanterns and stuff. We had a whole conversation about it at the top of the show. So we're gonna just keep rocking through these questions. But I appreciate you watching and coming by the channel and saying, hey, what's up? All right. Since the Saturday stream scripts reading well, will there be able to someday be just a script reading show? Would be something silly and fun and slots that need it. So I think what we're talking about possibly doing is making it like a goal. Like if we hit a certain goal for the month, we'll do like a script reading at the end of the month of like a fun bad script. We talked about it because we enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It's just it is really hard for us to get everybody out on a weekend because people have jobs and lives, and a lot of people here have full-time jobs and they want to go home and relax on the weekend. So, but it was a lot of fun. Thank you, Zier. Thank you for that. But it was a lot of fun, so we would love to keep doing that. Surf Ninja. What? Zagaras? Read my mind. Read my goddamn mind. 100 bits.
Thank you so much, Quillen.
That's true. You got those bits for free, so it's not always bad, right? That's pretty cool. Hey!
Money.
I don't need any more of your respect. I want to know when you are going to put a ring on this finger, yo.
Oh! Somebody made that donation as your name.
Oh, was that not you? Oh, man.
Either White Wabbit is trolling the shit out of you, or somebody else thinks they're up to White Wabbit's level now.
Is it on in here?
I'm broke, dude. You know what I literally just did? I made 2 payments to my student loan.
Oh really? You're paying on those things?
Why not? Somebody gotta.
Damn, that was another burn.
Ooh.
Okay, this is another Gwith Scroll question that came up. Ask AJ about the time he backstabbed Lizzie during a game and almost ruined their marriage.
So I don't think I finished it. So
Nope.
we're playing Game of Thrones board game where everyone plays a great house, and it's not like the characters from the show. You just play the armies. It's like Risk, except a lot more backstabbing. I'm the Lannister, so I'm landbound. I might have a lot of people, but there's a fuck ton of armies who want to kill Lannisters, and so I have a war literally on 2 fronts. Third army comes by, which is Mike McCain. He says, if you don't stay neutral in my current war, I will kill you. He has 3 times the army size. It just so happened that he was having a war with Liz. So you know what I did? I fucking stayed neutral. Liz took it personally and killed me. In the story.
So you stayed neutral.
Neutral. It
When
wasn't.
you were supposed to come to her aid as a partner.
If I had gone to her aid, I would have lost. It was a board game.
So by trying to win the board game, so I think I need to have Liz on here sometime, and we can ask her, because I'm sure the story works a little differently from her point of view. Now, if it was just the fact that you were trying to stay neutral and stay out of, and not give your significant other an advantage, an unfair advantage, because that would be unfair.
Exactly. I'm playing by the rules.
Now, if you just did it so you wouldn't die and so you could win, I mean, that just sounds like you're not a really good friend either.
Really?
Yeah.
You have to go there, really?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if it was just to be fair, like, hey, I don't want someone to have an unfair advantage here because this is, 2-on-1. That's not really fair. If it was just you were thinking, I can win this if I stay out of this engagement. I don't know, man. I don't know, dude. That seems a little self-serving there.
Thank you for the resub.
Thank you, Ronan Stark, for that resubscribe. All right. Moving on. And so many people asked that question. How long did it take you to get over the death of Beta?
I would say it was weird. I would say it took me like maybe a month to get fully over. The really hard hitting feeling took maybe 2 days, and then I wrote that piece pretty much the morning after that I had on my Twitter page, and I'll link it later on, where I kind of wrote out all my feelings about it, which really helped a lot because I got a lot of support from the Thumper community, and it let me know that I wasn't really alone on it, because you feel weird when you're grieving the death of someone that didn't exist. Like you when you grow up, you don't learn that. You don't learn, like, you learn that it's silly, it's childish to feel those ways. Excuse me. And then you find out that people do feel this way that you do, and it's okay, and you feel supported. And because I felt better, and then Strix had me on her show later on that week to talk about death, and that helped a lot. And like, it's like really dealing with grief like normal. Is talking about it, trying to relate to feelings goes a very long way. And then I think what helped too is I stayed on the show for pretty much the rest of the season in the background with the beta app and helping out there. And the entire cast kept me on as if I was still a cast member. It wasn't like they just discarded me, and that helped a lot.
So they didn't get over it, they say, because they're blaming me.
It wasn't really your fault though. Like,
But it helps them.
Yeah.
It helps them to paint me as the bad guy. I mean, they've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah.
It helps them out.
so here's the thing that I kind of feel really deep down. I think my death in that show was probably one of the best things that could happen to it, because I don't think Death from Above became what it was until we got the cast as it currently is with Goobs and with Strix. And I think their synergy with the 4 of them is much more than it was when it first started. Everyone found their legs, and I think that me and Jell, I mean, I love us to death, but we were easygoing characters. We were kind of light. We needed some really strong personalities.
Yeah, I think so too, and that's not a slight on you guys at all.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are being hard on the Renegades right now, and it's unfortunate because they don't remember. It took a long time to figure out what made Death from Above work, and we didn't know immediately. Like, it took months of testing, trying things out, seeing how the audience responded, sometimes ignoring the audience because certain people would complain, but then we'd be like, yeah, but the numbers were higher, so even though they're not talking, like, people really dug this thing or this thing. And, you know, it took a long time to really figure out what worked. And I know that's hard when it's just like, oh, they're going on a break, now the Renegades are up, and then people are like, oh, this isn't what I remember, I don't like this is and then our numbers drop like a couple hundred, and I'm like, oh, that sucks, because it is something that people don't realize with like live content, like how hard it is to please people. It's really hard, and a lot of people just want things to be good immediately, and it's live, so it takes time to test, to research, to figure it out. And I know the people who are still watching and who are here right now are probably still watching that show, but you know, our numbers dropped like a couple hundred the second that the new team started. So I think that a lot of people were just not willing to give something new a chance to grow, which is a bummer, but I also expect it at this point. Like, I've gotten used to that. Like, anytime we do a new show, people complain the first couple weeks that they don't like it, they don't like this and that. It's like, it takes time. We can't. What people don't realize in entertainment is how often like shows will be rehearsed for months before it actually starts
Rehearsal?
filming.
What's rehearsal?
Right?
So yeah, funny story is I had literally 1 week from being accepting the show to actually live filming. And I have no theater background, I have no streaming background, as Zach probably been known for the first couple weeks.
Not many people that work here did.
Yeah, it was...
Not many at all, dude.
It was weird. So, you know, I give it up because from the moment Renegade started, it was like they had it down pat. They knew what they wanted, and it would just take time for the audience to love them. And I really love that show. And I love the fact that if they make it through the show, maybe we could see them again. And it's just like, I know, like, you know, I can call them my crew because I still see like the main DFA people as my people when they come back. But I want to see those interactions because they're a very different team.
Very different.
Yeah.
Very different, which was a choice too, because we didn't want it to seem like we were just trying to copy. Because that would have been even worse, and people would have just been complaining the whole time. The whole time. We do know sometimes ahead of time what you'll complain about. We have it down to a science. And then we sometimes stay, we know they'll complain, and we don't care. Somebody wants to know, Guy actually wants to know if you've ever been a GM.
Yes, actually, I've been a GM for 2 games. I was a GM for a Buffy game once, and then for Deadlands. And if you guys follow me at all, you know I am a complete fanboy for Deadlands, which is a Wild West plus horror plus steampunk.
Cool.
All together in one. It makes for one of the best settings in the history of tabletop, in my opinion. The system is totally flawed because you use poker chips, you use playing cards, but for the atmosphere, it can't be beaten. And like, one of my goals now is somehow to get that on stream just like one shot or something, because it's so beautiful. They just hit 20 years.
Yeah. And somebody did say something about with Renegades how it didn't seem like the GM knew as much about BattleTech from the start. Yeah. Impossible.
You guys know who Tyler is?
Yeah, like, do you know who Tyler is? Like, there's a reason we have him GMing the main show. We can't expect anyone. Chris brings a different flavor to it, and I think we learned really quickly. We don't want him to try to copy what Tyler's doing either. I'm not expecting everyone to just be amazed, like, I love it, it's awesome. But we did throw Chris under a huge bus of pressure because everyone GM's different, and Tyler is coming to a position where he literally is building the new BattleTech world. He is an expert. He is the expert. So he's coming to with a wealth of knowledge that we can't expect anyone else to. So we didn't want Chris to even try to match that. So we had him take different routes. And he's doing a great job, and he's growing really fast. But I don't want to, like, I think trying to expect, and that's another thing too, is, which I know is hard for people to understand, is, which is really funny to me when we're talking about GMing and what it's like to GM. No GM will ever GM a game like another GM.
Oh boy, howdy.
Oh my god. And this is something I experienced a lot with that old big show that I used to do. And everyone would be like, you're not so-and-so, why aren't you like that, to all of our other GMs. And even some of that bleeded over to here, where people are like, I don't like so-and-so because they're not like so-and-so. And it's like, but then even then, that show was so popular that other people would come into the chat room and be like, I don't like him because he does this, this, and this, and you should be GMing like this. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, GMing is about the group. If the group likes it, then it's good. If it causes a friction within the group and the group can't move forward with it and it doesn't work, then it's bad. And every GM is completely different, and it's about the game they're playing. And every...
That kind of blows my mind a little bit, especially for here, because for one thing, we're not doing the typical setting. I'll just leave it like that. We've done BattleTech, we're doing Valiant, we're doing Shadow, and all three of these things are completely different tonally and narratively than your typical fantasy campaign. So you can't have the same GM style, first of all. And then it's like, on a second hand, it's like everything. You look at basketball, you look at baseball, you look at esports, everyone has a style. And if you mimic someone else's style, it usually rings out false. In a day, you use what you're strong at.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's interesting. Everyone's different. I don't ever want to tell anyone their style of GMing is wrong if the people who are playing are having fun. Yeah. That's all that's important. Honestly, if the players are having fun, you're doing a great job as a GM. Shub H Patel 24, what's up? How's it going? All right, let's get back to questions. Jane Kimpy wants to know which other shows. Hey!
money.
What would have happened if Beta had been allowed to attack the rest of the life forms in the season finally?
To answer your question, they would have died.
They would have died,
Like-
dude. You guys don't realize how close in that moment. If you go back and watch that episode and see the grin on Tyler's face, you would realize, holy shit, everyone in that bunker almost died just like that. So close.
So close. And that was kind of at a hip thing if I knew Tyler. And here's like the secret, which is not a big secret. We say permadeath and people are like, no, it's not really permadeath for season ender. You need to have everyone back next season. Everyone was told many times that the last two episodes were going to be brutal and anyone could die, including Garrelak. In fact, Garrelak, when he lost his arm, could have died there too. That wasn't like a big reveal moment. If they didn't think of that cutting the arms off thing, he was dead. Yeah. So it's like, so I have full power to kill everyone if I wanted to.
Yeah, and I knew it was about to happen when I saw Tyler grin. Like, there was that moment where I was sitting there watching, and then when I saw that little smirk on Tyler's face, like, oh, fuck, god damn it, oh, shit. And then somebody said something finally, I was like, okay, Jesus Christ. Like, that's why I like Tyler, though, because I want him to go there. I want him to kill you guys if you weren't smart in that instance. Now, Vanquish, like I said, we've talked about, is different. I could have killed you guys 1,000 times over by now, but it's a different universe with different rules and different, like, settings. The world we built with that show, he had every right in that moment to be like, and it mows everyone down. And that would have been the most tragic, like,
for
ending
you
to all of that.
I could have ended with like a little dun 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 dun.
Whatever.
Beta win.
Beta killing all those people would have been
kind of tragic.
Okay, so back to that question. What other shows will be broadcast from Hyper RPG South's studio complex? So I can't tell you yet, Jane Kimpy, and I know this is Honesty Hour and we're supposed to answer all these kinds of questions, but I've made it a rule after a couple months ago to never tell you guys what's coming unless it's setting in stone. I can tell you that we're looking for a location. Lucas and I have been looking. I can tell you that Lucas is driving up here right now to hang out this weekend and a little bit of next week to talk about what we want to do with it and how we think that's all going to work. And we're looking for places to get Adam out of his bedroom, and we have talked about other shows that we can pick up and do remotely down there, but I cannot tell you what those are unless they're 100% set in stone. I just don't want to do that because I don't want you guys to get your hopes up or make you think something's happening that's not, and then everyone speculate. I can say we're working on it. And we're working on some really fun stuff, and we have some really awesome plans for 2017, and you guys should be super excited about it. Super excited.
Oh man, there was one lesson I've learned, which one of our founders always says, which is business development, all thunder, lightning, and smoke until nothing happens.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you don't want to see what, like, it's a lot better when you get the surprise. It makes you feel so much warmer when it's like, hey guys, I remember when I saw the Cineverse reveal and that happened. I was just like, oh, shit!
Yeah. That was a fun reveal, too, by the way, to be sneaky about that and do that really fun reveal.
Yeah, like, literally, he was like, hey, I can't, do, what was it, I can't do the comic show this weekend.
Yeah, I can't do the comic book show because I have a meeting.
I have a meeting, so I came in the comic show, and it's like, so where's Zach? He's at a meeting. And they're like, yeah, he's gonna be in a meeting for a while. And I was like, oh, okay. And then later that night, boom.
Yeah,
It's like,
it was fun. It was a fun reveal, and we're glad to have those guys on board.
but seriously, I should get like insider information. I'm here a lot.
It's tough,
Yeah.
as I want to do that to you guys either. I don't wanna be like, yo man, here's what we're thinking, and then a month later be like, yeah, that never happened.
So when you're working on that
You
guy's
wouldn't believe how many things we've discussed in our office that have never happened.
Oh no, I can believe that.
How many failed things that have just not happened?
Oh, I can believe that.
Yeah.
You forget what I do in my day job.
Yeah, that's true. Video game company.
Yeah.
We're gonna add this feature. Nope. Can you
my-
imagine if everyone knew every single planned feature for a game?
Oh, my heart breaks every time I hear a new developer or a new indie developer talk about what didn't get into their
Or when
game.
like the head of a game company goes onto a TV show and says there's gonna be like multiplayer and all this other stuff before the
Peter Molyneux.
devs have had a chance to even see if it's possible.
It's the worst feeling in the world because you know that they're lying out their ass. And like I shouldn't say that because it's not like
Right.
a lie out of
And
like
Final Fantasy Master, that's a perfect example. The special over 9,000 DBZ stream. And that's one we even thought we had locked in because Bandai told us they wanted to do it. It's not our fault that the guy who said they wanted to do it quit Bandai and went to work for someone else. So that's exactly one of the things that taught me, okay, we can't do that. We can't say we're doing something until literally the check has been put in the mail and it is 100%. So in that one, we couldn't do shit because it was like, he said we were doing it, we were ready to do it, things were moving forward. Oh, by the way, I quit and I went to work somewhere else.
That is one of the weirdest things in the world, and it happened in the 9th hour too, until the ink is dry. To answer your question, Silence of the Deep, no one who's officially on the payroll at Hyper RPG also works at Neverending
Nobody
Schemes.
officially, no.
That said, me, Tyler, Mitch. So 2 people from DFA, me at Valiant Vanquish.
Are you still getting paid by HBS, Malika?
Malika?
Okay, Malika works.
So we have those 4 who also work at HBS during our day jobs. So we have a lot of kind of interlap just because we are kind of sister companies, but we are our own separate entities.
Totally different.
Yep.
I don't have to. Yeah, Malika does contract work for HBS. So Krun wants to know, in regards to Hyper RPG and the Thumper community, AJ, what do you personally see as the best aspect?
I believe it's like when I say community, it really feels like one. So I've been around quite a while in gaming, and kind of a little bit more for streaming relatively new. And it's always a bunch of people talking. Usually, you have a lot of talking heads. You have a lot of people in forums that are angry or excited, but they're always kind of noise and voices. But when it comes to Thumpers, I get excited when I look at Twitter and I get to see people I'm familiar with say, good job. That makes me feel really good. Or if I get to jump onto stream and talk to you guys in chat and just feel like I don't feel like a celebrity. I shouldn't because I ain't normal. I just feel like I am privileged that people get to watch me be goofy and then I get to hang out with them. I get to play games with you guys, and that's the amazing
That's one of
thing.
my favorite parts is getting to play games with the community. Honestly, I never got to play games with friends in like high school and stuff like that, or even that much in college. So it's really cool to now be able to like boot up a game like Paragon on the weekend if I have an hour free, and be like, hey, who wants to play? And then actually play with people. Like that's a really cool and fun thing to be able to do.
And it is awesome. And Working Class Hero, I also like you because you make me buff. Sorry, Working Class Hero, WCH.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to make a Vanquish joke, which probably some people don't understand.
All right. Let's see. Moving through the questions here. Oh, wow, I skipped a bunch of them, it looks like. Whoops.
You are a terrible human being.
Um,
And yes, I will be happy to play ARAMs, because I know League of Legends is a cursed word among some people, but I am an addict of that game, so if you guys want to play with me, hit me up and I will play.
So Tahoods asks, how will you be accounting for the fundraiser for Hyper RPG South taking money from other shows in the upcoming weeks? I know that between my wife and our Hyper budget for this month is gone, when it would normally go to Corp Sins. So part of the reason we ran that, Tahoods, is because we had to. Honestly, like, just to be totally honest, October as a month was so low that if we didn't do that thing at the end, things were looking really bad. So we had to, and not all of that money goes to HRBG South. Some of it goes to just keeping the lights on here. Actually, half probably goes to just normal bills that we have to do that also help us get that goal down there. But we had to do it in that sense because it was like rough. So we were hoping that what was happening by doing that, it was coming out of last month. But if it comes out of this month, then we know, we understand, and we planned wrong, and we've got to figure out a solution and keep moving forward. So the constant challenge of a community-driven channel is sometimes too much is asked of the community, and we've got to figure out where that line is, and you know what we can do to incentivize better, what we can do moving forward to keep you guys happy, and also what we can do to keep growing to where we don't need to ask in the sense of like finding other sources of income, which we've been working really hard on. We've been working really, really hard to try to find other sources of income, and it's been tough because so many of the traditional forms of income are still taxing the same people. So like
It blows my mind, just like every day. Like, just the generosity of the tippers is a completely different model than what I'm used to.
Yeah.
And I guess it's very scary and very enlivening too, because like
Day to day, man. We watch that fucking tip bar day to day. Like day to day. Like today's super fucking low. And we feel it. Like we know it and we feel it, and we go to the drawing board and we're like, okay, why? What's going on? How is it happening? What do we need to do better? How can we reinvigorate? How can we re-hype people? Because it's usually around hype. It's usually around hype and keeping people super pumped up, super excited. And how can we do that? You know, so we watch that shit like a fucking hawk. Like we are always, and it's nerve-wracking too. Oh my god, like we live or die by the sword here in a way. It's like every day is like on the edge of our fucking seat.
I can tell when it's a good day or a bad day just immediately walking into the room.
Yeah, it's literally, yeah. And that's one reason we do the sub songs, because in a lot of ways, the songs for subs are like, they make everyone here feel good. It's like a reminder that new people are tuning in, new people are liking this, new people are like getting into it. Lol Slayer, thank you for that follow. And so does the follower sound. Like those kinds of things are psychologically so rewarding because it can be so exhausting for the people that are here all day. If it's a slow day especially and we're not seeing many people tune in.
Money.
Hype.
Aw.
Thank you. Hype. But at the same time, like we know that the people are here watching right now, like you guys are all so great, and that's where it's tough because we want to talk to you guys about it, we want to have conversations about it, have a better understanding, but at the same time not make it like we're trying to guilt you into more, because it's not your responsibility, it's our responsibility to figure out how to make it work, and that's why sometimes we have to cut back on shows that are expensive. Like I know, like we said, we had to stop doing Trivia Hops.
Oh, it's gone.
You missed it. We had to stop doing Trivia Hops, partly because of the Strix and weekly affirmations. That's part of it. The other part of it is Trivia Hops is a really expensive show for us, like really expensive show, and it made no money. Like we lost money on that show for weeks and weeks. So we just have to get rid of it. And that's always gonna be the hard thing with us being a company and for people who are watching, is that like we have to make decisions sometimes. Hey!
Money.
Here is a hug made of tips.
Thank you for that. It's a hard thing as a company because if we were just friends hanging out and that stuff wasn't an issue, we could just fucking do it. And sometimes I miss that. Sometimes I miss being able to just stream on my own channel and be like, not give a fuck. And just be like, let's just have fun. And we do have fun here, but it is different. We have insurance, lots of insurance payments and health insurance to pay, and people's salaries, their livelihood is at stake. So sometimes we can't listen to the audience when they say, we love a show. If it's not making money, people's jobs are on the line, and we have to make that hard call to be like, I know you like it, but we can't. We just can't. It costs too much. So it's tough.
Yeah, it's a sobering feeling, definitely.
It is. It sucks because sometimes we'll really like things too, and we have to like just like stop. You can't play favorites, I guess is what I'm saying. Like you have to like you know, you have to disconnect yourself a little bit, and it's hard. So, and as far as the shirts for Canada, we do have a Design by Humans store if you haven't checked it out. So go check out Design by Humans. As far as us, like, Amazon's kind of out of our control of where they make it available. I believe the Teespring shirt that we have right now could probably be bought in Canada, most likely. And I'm guessing our Design by Humans store as well. So there are options there. But we also know that Canada's like, what, 7% of our audience, Malika, or is it even less than that? What was Canada on our audience percentage? Yeah, she's working on that, she'll tell me. But it's not enough for us to put resources into finding huge solutions. And that's the other thing that's like tough, is like we have people who have really strong requests and we want to please those fans, and we're so tight on certain funds that we're like, well, we can't necessarily do this one thing for 6%. If we then get an influx of something and we got extra, we can be like, oh yeah, we can do that, let's do it.
And honestly, I feel like Trivia Hops, I love that show because I was on it, what, 5 times?
It's fun.
Yeah,
fun.
but I think it might do better as a periodic show just for the fact that it is expensive. The Skype was a pain. Like, it's really hard. Like, I know you guys know it once or twice, but people drop connection all the time.
Unlimited bacon.
And
Yes.
then you need to have like that big name if you're gonna go through that trouble, and if you do it week after week, it just gets harder and harder for it.
Yeah.
So it'll be great when it comes out of the freezer, so to speak, for like that special Trivia Hops.
So getting back to Discord, 6.5%.
That's a pretty good margin,
Which
right
is
there.
it's quite a few, but it's like 75% United States, so it's tough.
America.
AJ, how did you end up with HBS? Also, I remember something about Mitch getting you a car. How far? I'm glad they didn't let you.
Money.
Zach, I subbed that first month, but I haven't kept up till Cineverse. Did you really name things in the studio after people who bought them?
Andy, aka Proviat189, aka Texture Boy. It's printed on this table.
Yep.
Yes, there are names all over this studio, dude. All over the studio, people's names are here to remind us every single day we couldn't have done this without you guys. That's why I wanted those names on there. It's not just for you guys to think it's something cool. It's so when we're looking around and we're moving stuff and we're working on things, we never forget we're here because of you. And we want that to be a constant reminder so we don't ever pull some stupid corporate bullshit or we forget that you guys do this.
Money.
Here is something from #Neonet for the Lights
Thanks,
and DP
Becca.
Fund.
Thanks. Dude, that's coming through.
We
We just got a new sub. It's coming through. We're about to dance. When's it gonna hit? Hey!
Subscriber.
Thank you, Area 51 Games. Thank you so much. Oh, dude, like that. Subbing before following, that's boss. Super
Thank
boss. Thank you, Area 51 Games. 1 subscriber away from a Steam Key giveaway. So, back to the HBS story. Sorry.
All right, so I've been working for HBS for the entire inception of it. I'm actually employee number 2 of HBS. I actually worked there longer than Mitch has, funnily enough. So, previous to that,
Why aren't you the boss, bro?
because I'm just a lowly programmer. But so before that, I worked at Smith & Tinker, which was another one of Jordan Weissman's company. We made this game called Nanovore, which was this handheld game. Remember back in the day, like Digipets, what are those little things where you connect together and they fight each other? I can't even remember what they're called anymore. But in the late 90s or early 2000s, that was a shit for kids game. We made a super cool version of that. It was in color. It had 3D models. It was going to revolutionize everything. In that same year, what came out? The iPod, the iPad Touch, the entire suite of Apple's new mobile technology. It was the rise of the mobile age. And so we had to shut down Smith & Tinker. And so this was a company of about, I want to say 80 people. And so Jordan was this magical figure that I got to see before. He did the company meetings, but he had a lot of stuff to do because he was the CEO of the company at the time. So the company shut down, and he comes to my desk and goes, AJ, can I have a moment to talk to you? And he's like, look, I know this is stuff for you. Why don't you just stick around? come by tomorrow and we'll talk. And he offered me money.
Here's a tip for the TP fund. No one likes swamp butt.
Swamp butt.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
that. Appreciate it. Thank you for that tip.
But yes,
TP fun.
TP fun. But yes, Tamagotchi, that was the one I was money.
So is my name on the toilet?
For Cope the joke, you didn't buy our toilet, but did you? No, Ricky bought the top. Wait, I'm like, wait a minute. I remember Ricky bought a new lid. We should put Ricky's face on the toilet.
No. I have to go into that bathroom. I have to go on that toilet. So I'm going to make a quick aside before I finish my story and say every time I have to go to that bathroom, I look at it and it says, how do you want to do this, Matt Mercer?
Yeah.
Every time I go to the bathroom. You know how like psychologically like, ugh. Anyway. So yeah, he goes aside and he goes, I have a little opportunity. We're going to try and make a new kids game, which is called Go Go Kiddo. You and Chris Rogers, who's another person over at HBS now. I only have enough budget for 3 months. After that, we're gonna have to look for jobs, get me included. Are you in for this? And I'm like, sure, why not? I have no job anyway right now. And so for 3 months, he looks out, he looks for investors. 3 months goes and comes with nothing. And then it's 4 months, then it's 5 months, and then it's 6 months. And all this is out of his own pocket, by the way. And he's doing this because he believes in the product, and he believes in the people, and he didn't want us to lose our jobs. And then we get this game called Crimson Steam Pirates, which we work with Bungie on. Is another mobile game, and it turns out to be a lot more popular than we thought. And that's when Mitch came into the picture, because he was working at the time with Bungie on something else, and he joined in. We make this game, it's good reviews, and then while they're doing that, him and Jordan do their harebrained thinking like all the time, and they go, "What is this really good idea? You would create Shadowrun. Why don't we do a Kickstarter for it?" And this is right when Kickstarter just first started.
Just started, right?
Yeah, it was one of the first gaming Kickstarters. And they're like, sure, I'm sure we can make 100 or 200,000 stars and make a really good mobile game. And then literally within the span of 2-3 days, we're over... What?
Subscriber.
Time for a Steam Key giveaway. I don't know if there's anyone in the chat room who can do a Steam Key giveaway right now. I'm not sure if Emily's watching. She was sick. I think Rara already went home. Can Malika do it?
Masuma.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. So it's time for a Steam Key giveaway, but I'm making sure Malika can log in to do the giveaway. But I think she's the only person left. Well, the mods said they can do it. All right, one of the mods do the giveaway for us, if you don't mind. We're empty studio tonight. Sweet, Steam Key giveaway time. All right, keep going.
So yeah, so we do the Kickstarter, and in 3 days we get over $500,000, just like this. And like what people don't realize to this day, because they know for the PC, Shadowrun was originally meant to be a mobile game with, instead of having 3D models, you had little tokens. There was not going to be a full story. It was going to be a really light game, and because people love that.
Whoa! Jordan Weissman making a light game?
Yeah. Well, no. Here's the thing about Jordan Weissman, and Zach can come with this. He always has very simple ideas at his inception, like very light, like ECXS, which go super, super, super deep. Like if you give him an inch, he will make the ARG experience of a lifetime. That's what he does. But for purposes of our selling, we had a light game, we had like these feature lists that we can cut other things if necessary. And then suddenly, by the end of this month, we have over $1 million. And it's like, oh, well, shit.
That's a real game.
It's a real game.
Hardcore.
And that's how HBS formed.
No, what are you doing? No. That's alright, they're doing it. They're doing the giveaway.
So much dancing. So yeah, and that's how HBS came to be, and I was kind of lucky enough to be along for a ride. I've been an engineer my entire career. I was lucky that Jordan noticed me, to be honest, and I worked as hard as I can, and I feel blessed, to be honest. And, I know him both as a mentor and a boss and a friend. And it's like...
SG1, you won!
Ooh, well, congratulations, SG1. SG1U.
Congratulations. Congratulations on that Steam Key win. But when is Mitch giving you your car?
So, am I allowed to tell this? Yeah, of course, everyone knows the story. So, this is way back in 2013, at this point, 2012, 2013. He made a really ill-conceived promise. He promised if Shadowrun would ever sell 1 million copies, he would buy me a 1968, I believe, Impala. Black with suicide doors. Because at that time, we didn't think we would ever sell that many copies. Because who sells 1 million copies as an indie developer with no publisher? We're really close to 1 million if we haven't passed as of this year. So, I don't want to put you on blast, Mitch, but I think I just...
Putting you on blast, Mitch!
I love you so much.
Doing it. Green-Eyed Trombona says, let's talk about medical conditions that suck.
Oh, fuck.
So I guess let's get into it.
You want to go first, or should I go first for this one?
I mean, I feel like I've complained about it on this show a lot. I mean, people can see it. Sometimes they can tell when I'm on screen if I'm really fidgety or my eyes are bloodshot or I'm disengaged and like it's hard for me to focus. Like right now, I feel like I want to rip my leg off and beat somebody to death with it because my hip's like screaming at me and I just want to like take this off and like just destroy. So I probably won't be sleeping again tonight. That's the part that gets me the most frustrated is because I haven't been sleeping and just like knowing that it's gonna be super hard for me to sleep makes me anxious just thinking about it because I need sleep so fucking bad. We've talked about that stuff a lot. We were talking kind of out front before the show started, and you said you've had to go through a lot of medical stuff in your life as well. Why don't you tell people about it?
So I have Kleppel-Feil syndrome, which is a lot of different things into one. The most notable one is, if you guys have noticed, I have a very short neck. Even especially if you look to the side like this, you can see I have almost no neck as for an adult. And the reason for that is I'm missing a piece of my cervical spine bone. It's actually completely gone. So I actually, when I was young and I moved my neck a certain way, it would pinch the nerve endings and I'll have full paralysis. So when I was about 2 or 3, I was running up and down stairs.
Money. Loved all the Shadowrun games, especially the last one. Can't wait for more from HBS.
Thank you so much. That's one of the things I really pride ourselves with HBS is that every game has been an evolution. Like Shadowrun was a lot of fun. It had its flaws. We addressed as many as we could with Dragonfall, and then we kept going with Hong Kong, and that team is one hell of a team. That's all I can say about that. But back to my medical condition. So when I was 2 years old, I was running up and down stairs chasing my sister. And I pinched my nerve and I actually fell down the stairs, completely paralyzed, and I was paralyzed for about a little bit over a week, which scared my parents into getting a fusion. So I actually have an iron bar in my neck, so I can't actually move my neck further than here or here. Along with that, I also have horseshoe kidneys and a congenital hole in my heart. So for early part of my life, it was very little to affect my like day-to-day, except I couldn't play any contact sports, so no football, no hockey, no soccer. And then as I got older, basketball got pushed out as well because it gets pretty damn contact by the time you get to high school. And then I hit 17 to 18 and I started getting pain again. And then I went to the doctors and they wanted to put even more more fusions in, so I couldn't even move up or down. They gave me the warning that if I ever got into a serious accident, I'll be permanently paralyzed again. And as I get older, I got increasing more pain. And then as I turned 20, my eyesight started failing, and I ended up actually being diagnosed with keratoconus, which is my cornea kind of became misshapen, and so I ended up having to get a corneal transplant as well. And then on top of all that, in the last 2 years ago, I started getting some severe stomach pains. Part of it we actually ended up being something easy, which was lactose intolerance, but other things still hasn't been resolved yet. So I still have a lot of stomach pain that they're like, well, all your tests come back normal. So
I'm in that same position actually. I've had really bad stomach issues for years now. They can't figure out what the problem is. I think it's stress related because I'm in constant chronic pain. I think it's just my body responding to the stress, but
it's not an easy thing. And like I mentioned being zebra earlier in the beginning, and it's very difficult to be in that state because a lot of known issues there are a cure for. You have a headache or you have a cut, you go to the doctor. They have literally like a step-by-step guide of how you fix it. I mean, I'm not gonna belittle what doctors do because it's incredibly difficult. But you go to school all those years to learn the steps. There's very few doctors who are on a bleeding edge who are having to...
Yeah, that's something I had to learn the hard way too that really bummed me out. Like I said, I don't go to doctors anymore because I'm so jaded.
Yeah, so once you get into this thing where we don't know how to fix you, it becomes a very scary situation because you kind of have two options or three options. You have, do I become a lab rat? Where they get to try new things. Some of them may work, some may not, and some make you feel worse for it. You can do nothing and hope it goes away, or you can do the extreme. They almost always have like a nuclear option. In my case, it was have a full spinal fusion so you can never move your neck again. But hey, then you won't ever have that 1 in 1,000 chance of dying suddenly, And then you have to consider your quality of life at that point.
Yeah, I stopped going, and it's something Malika and I argue about often because she thinks it's silly for me to not go, and I know it is. I've just gotten so jaded from like 3 or 4 years of specialists that would just prescribe me medication that wouldn't help, and it took me 3 years to get diagnosed properly, and then it took me 2 years to have someone listen to me and fix a torn tendon. So I lived for 2 years with a torn tendon where I was having blackouts from pain. I kept going to emergency. I spent so many weeks in emergency rooms where I'd just be like, I don't feel safe with myself. I need to be in an emergency room because I'm blacking out from pain and I can't focus. And, I almost failed out of college and like all this stuff. And my relationships with friends and other people were so horrible because it was just a mess all the time. And I would get so mad because doctors wouldn't listen to me and they'd just go through the normal routines. And like I'd get scheduled to do an MRI, and like at the time, my arm was so loose that it would just hang like 3 inches out of socket. And, it's like right there, it's out, and it would just hang out naturally because the tear was so big. But then when they'd go to do an MRI, they would strap me in, and they'd put everything together. And I would try to tell them like, no, that's not where my arm sits. My arm sits down here, like way down here. And they would just like strap everything in so they couldn't see the tear on the MRI. And it took a physical therapist writing a really long letter to a surgeon and being like, she was great because she had worked enough with me over like a year and a half to like really see, okay, if I make him do this, there's swelling, that's a tear. If I do this, there's this, that's a tear. And she's like, I've seen tears from athletes. I know this is a tear. And we finally found a surgeon who was willing to do an invasive kind of surgery and see, and sure enough, there was a tear and he fixed it. And that's not the only one that's happened, but I got so jaded to just going to like doctor after fucking doctor and doctor, and they just never, they would just be like, here's some narcotics, boom, get out of here. Like, oh, you're in pain, here, take this Percocet, blah, 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 here you go, and rest, and sorry. And it got so frustrating.
I can get you on that one.
Yeah, and the fact that it took 3 years for a geneticist to finally be like, oh, this is actually what's wrong. And that was relieving in one sense because then we knew how to like where to go and where to attack. But then the next thing that became really scary is a lot of people then didn't want to see me because it's rare for people to have it in the way I have it. So then a lot of normal doctors would be kind of like,
you need a specialist.
I don't want to deal with this. This is kind of not, just seeing that on my sheet, or like having people like dentists wouldn't want to work on me because they'd be like, oh, it says here you have EDS. We can't operate on you because
liability.
Like all sorts of different, like just getting so frustrated and be like, look, I can tell you what it is. I lived with it. I can tell you what version it is, what type. It's rare, but it doesn't affect bleeding. It doesn't affect like internal swelling, thankfully, just ligaments and tendons and stuff like that. But
really
so
quick too, I want to say there's been a lot of people in the chat who've been letting me know, and it's like we're seeing what you're saying, and I thank you so much for sharing it as well.
Well, that's what. Yeah, and we're all in this together. I know there's a lot of people in our community that deal with. I know because I got the letters last year, and I know there's a lot of people that are dealing with their own hardships and going through, and that's why we're here. And for those that may not know, in our Discord channel, if you're a subscriber, there is a hugs room. So if you are ever dealing with your physical ailments or mental ailments, hit up the hugs channel. And none of us are professionals, but at least there's a community there ready to support you at any time you need it. Zach and Chad, has Obamacare made a difference in your life? If doctors could help me, yes. I was uninsured for 10 years because insurance companies wouldn't touch me. Because of my condition, they refused to. And did you ever encounter that too? Because it was like a pre-existing. Did the doctors ever turn down, or insurance companies turn down a lot of your requests?
So it's been a help and not a help at the same time, because before, when I was young, it was a lot of burden, but I had parents at the very least who were persistent enough to fight it and get what I needed for the when I was really young for the surgeries, and then when I was older for the consults and figuring out what to do. And then by the time I decided to, as an adult, do it, I was later on in life, I was a little more established, and I had really good health insurance. Because one of the cool things about living in Seattle is that there is a gamers co-op for health insurance. So the people that give HBS their health insurance is the same one that gives Bungie. And there's like, I want to call it union, but there is a standard health code for almost all gaming facilities up here that I say, yeah.
Yeah, we have the same one.
It's good. It's because and that happened before Obamacare came in, so it didn't affect us as much, but it's still good to know that there's a safety net in place. And it's super important too about pre-existing conditions, because that would be the death knell for so many people if they say, oh, you have EDS, oh, you have a congenital defect. Well, screw you, because it's too late to fix it because it already existed.
Yeah, I mean, that was my life for 10 years of freelance work, because no insurance company would touch me. I wasn't allowed to, like, to get any help in that way, and Obamacare came along, and I could finally go to the doctor and get things covered, because insurance companies, I mean, they tried dropping me, too. Like, that same physical therapist that finally got me help with the surgery, there was a double-edged sword of when I finally got diagnosed, the insurance company dropped me like a fucking, like, bam, and then they tried not paying my physical therapy bills for the last like months that it occurred, and the physical therapist.
Money. Here's another tip for creating a killer community for us to share. Also, sorry about the swamp butt comment.
It's all good. It's all good. That same physical therapist decided to just not charge us.
Oh, that was
because she charged the insurance company. When the insurance company dropped us and denied, it was like a $14,000 bill, and no, it was $44,000 actually, I think. And they just ripped the bill up and said that they wouldn't stand for that kind of thing. So I did a big painting for them for their like office, because like, oh my god, like you guys like lifesavers. It was stressful. Fucking dealing with insurance is like the most stressful.
It's because it's for profit.
My family has dealt with it so much. Yeah, and it's like when people talk about like Obamacare is a fucking disaster. It's like, okay, I understand some people, if they're looking at it from purely a financial standpoint, would think that, but I'm one of the few people that got help from it. And I know a lot of other people that did, to where our lives were just shit and we were ignored because it was a for-profit system that was just basically like, well, we can't make money off you, so no.
I mean, like, I can go on a rant for hours about this. Like, the fact that we're the only first world nation that doesn't have nationalized healthcare until relatively recently. I wouldn't even say this is really nationalized healthcare. It's like if you really break it down, it's a subsidy. It's forcing an insurance company to take you, but it's still a privatized health insurance industry. But the fact that we're the only nation that doesn't have that, you have to think about it. And there are some negatives to nationalized healthcare. Like, that means that the state can turn you down if you're too far gone. And especially for geriatric care, it can be kind of scary sometimes. But I feel like the goods outweigh the negatives. That's one of my rants, I would say.
Yeah, I do too. I think it needs work. I think any new system needs a long time to like figure it out. So And I saw somebody post on, actually it was in game. And in game 619, I feel you on that, and there does come challenges with that. You know, there is that like social. It goes both ways when you have a disability that people can't see, just like how some mental health disabilities can't be seen. Like sometimes when I say, if someone overhears me saying I'm disabled, they look at me in a really weird way. And then I feel bad because I know people out there do have it worse than me, and that's why I don't have a disabled sticker on my car, despite some of my closest friends and loved ones saying I should have one. And I always feel like, well, there's somebody who's actually in a wheelchair that needs it more than me. But there is that, like, when you look fine and you don't have any noticeable features on the outside, because people want to be able to see what's wrong before they'll sympathize or empathize with you in a lot of ways. And I do get some really bad looks from people whenever they overhear that, because oh, you look fine, like whatever, dude, like you're probably okay. And to the point that I don't tell a lot of people, like the chat room knows a lot more about me than a lot of the people who are really close to me, because it's easier to tell you guys, but like I can tell you it makes a lot of people uncomfortable and weird, like other business partners or other people, like if they find out that I'm dealing with constant chronic pain, they get really weird around me. And they don't, because they don't understand, and I don't expect them to understand. It's also another one of those things where I can't really expect them to get it, because it is not something you can see, and it's not something that you can just be like, oh, it's like this. It's like, they're like, wait, so you're in pain right now? And I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, definitely. So it's a weird. I don't tell
so
a lot
much
of
unpacked
people.
in that, because like until I met Liz, I wouldn't say anything about my pains, and
Yeah.
I still have a problem about soldiering on when I shouldn't.
Nazi, thank you for that follow.
Thank you so much. Because you're expected. Like, I hate to say this because this is going to sound so much sexist, but as a man in America, you're expected to toughen up. You're supposed to man up. You're supposed to provide for your family, provide for your loved ones. You're not supposed to complain, because the complaining is for weak people.
You know, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it's something we don't talk about a lot on this channel, you know, because in a lot of ways, as men, we have a lot of privileges. That's no joke. And we do discuss that a lot on this network. We discuss a lot of the privileges we have as men, and we discuss a lot supporting women in every way that we can and giving them a platform to do so. We do that a lot. We don't talk about sometimes, and I think we should, because this is the right avenue to talk about, the pressures that are put on men to fit into a predetermined idea of what it means to be a man in our culture and our society. And I completely fucking agree with you, and I am a problem in that it's not that I have those expectations from other men, or that I believe in some like system of where my place should be and where a woman's place should be, that's based on some old idea of American values, but the fact that in my head,
Money.
Not much of a tip, but much love for still running after so long and having fun doing it. And don't worry about being disabled, we'll still kill you if you show up on #DFA again. Hey.
You've been killed twice on DFA, haven't you?
oh yeah.
You gonna make a trifecta?
I think Mitch did ask me to come back. I'm like, I don't know if I want to, dude. What I mean by that is I was still raised by a very man's man, in a very man's man world, to the point that I used to get beat up for studying painting, you know, because it was the opposite of masculinity, and it threatened the people around me because they didn't understand it. I got abused a lot as a high schooler for not being what they saw to be masculine. Even though I played sports or things like that, I was still a painter, and I still would talk about things that made people really uncomfortable, and it made me an outsider. And then when it came to the pain level, so it was weird, because I went through the stage where I was younger, before the pain really kicked in, but I was constantly fighting against that masculinity and trying to like define myself outside of some gender role that was put on me as what it meant in that culture to be masculine. And when the pain really kicked in, I realized how, even though I had fought against it so much, deep down in my brain, I still have this idea of like, no, toughen the fuck up. Stop being a little bitch. Like, get over yourself. You're fine. You're fucking fine. Push harder, push harder, push harder. Get over yourself. And that comes from that very agro-masculine kind of environment that I grew up in that I wouldn't wish on anyone else, but I do it to myself constantly.
Oh, yeah,
Fucking constantly. Like, just get over it. Just get over it. What the fuck's wrong with you? Stop whining. Stop whining. Stop crying. Just get over it. Just get over it. Like, always in my fucking head.
So apparently it's called toxic masculinity. Thank you, Liz, and the people from chat for informing us what the name is. I actually didn't know that. And PK Theater also mentioned that is especially true with people in the military. And here's the thing about toxic masculinity as a whole, is that it doesn't just affect us, but it also leads into other aspects of negative culture, so to speak. For example, rape culture can be defined by toxic masculinity because you're kind of taught from a young age that you are the alpha, you are the prime, you take what you want, and things of that nature. So it is a very lean problem, and it's like we hide our feelings so very well, especially as Americans, and especially American men. You do not show weakness. You don't show that you are sad or hurting. And when you are embarrassed, like, and I know for sure when I was a kid, I got embarrassed a shitload, and through high school and college, you learn not to shy away from it. You learn to bring it right back to them. You know, if someone insults you, you insult them right back. You belittle them even bigger than before, and it's like this.
Yeah, it's
spiral.
something even. What was it? Just like, was it last night, Malika, or 2 nights ago? Malika was like, "I've never seen you cry. Do you cry? When do you cry?" It was last night. Why don't you cry? Wait, why haven't you cried around me? Aren't you sad about things? I'm like, yeah. Well, why don't you cry? Well, because I don't. Why not?
Because you don't.
I don't know. Like, that's that kind of like, I'm filled with emotions. I'm a very emotional person, but I'm not gonna cry. Why is that? Oh, probably because I've been taught from a very, very young age, you don't cry. You don't show weakness. You don't give in to that weakness. You almost cut your finger off, you fucking tough it up, laugh about it, and go get it sewn back on and get back to work, you know? Like, that's... And I realize that there's, like, problems with that, and finding that balance of, like, knowing when to admit that you're out of your fucking element and that you need to, like, seek help. Like, I think that ultimately is what it leads to, is this pride that's stupid. And that you need to get the fuck over. That's what's funny. I'm still talking about it from that sense of like, come on, asshole, just get like, don't do it. You know, it's still that.
It's just isn't ingrained.
It's always your dad in the back of your head yelling at you. You know what I mean?
And it's a weird thing too, because like I was lucky enough in a way that my dad never put pressure on me in such a way. I lived with my mom most of my life because they divorced really young, and so I was raised by a lot of strong women. And so I got it from my mom and not my dad. My dad was like, do what you feel, be nice. And my mom was one that's like, man up. But it was not even less so her and more my school. And more of my teachers in high school. Those were the ones who taught pressure on me. So it's not always just about home life. It's about society in a whole. Because there are these expectations. Moreover, as a black man, you have to portray a certain image to the world outside. Especially as a professional. It changes a little bit. So when we say man up as a black man, especially in the public, it's not about showing aggression. It's about showing restraint. You see this especially if you look at Obama. That's a good figure just to see in white culture, which is someone insults you, you don't insult back. You turn the other cheek. If someone's trying to goad you into anger, you do not show it because there's nothing scarier. We've learned as black men growing up, is nothing scarier than being an angry black man. As soon as that happened, you put yourself and your community in danger. That's what we're taught at a very young age. And I know that got really deep really fast and really scary. But that's another thing about toxic masculinity, is that we have to put on a mask. We have to put on a front of armor. And that front of armor isn't just for us. It's for our family. It's for people nearby us. Just by association. If we are the problem, we are the monsters that the society thinks we are. If we even show a hint of that, then they're going to come after us.
Yeah. It's again, it's funny, like, anytime, okay, I'm guessing you saw Saturday Night Live 2 weeks ago with the sketch with the Trump supporter on Black Jeopardy.
Yes.
And it's funny because I've been saying that for years. I think it's always really interesting when we get in these situations where race becomes a great topic of any political debate or upcoming issues, things like that, and it hits the forefront. The thing that always struck me the most interesting, going from living in the middle of nowhere, podunk, poverty-ridden, white trash America, and like literally just poor people who are extremely bigoted and racist to then living inner city Kansas City, they're no different in so many ways, and people share a lot of the same cultural like obviously one side has a lot less like one side unfortunately has, because of the color of their skin, less rights in our country than people want to admit, but the similarities of struggle are usually so similar, and their wants and wishes, that it always is really funny that people can't come to an agreement with their positions in life. Like there's so many of the same struggles that are more related to class that they refuse in a lot of ways to admit. That's like you guys are going through a lot of the same struggles, and especially when it comes to masculine identity in like southern poorer families of what it means to be a man. And it's a very similar situation that I think there could be a lot of embracing the similarities rather than people pointing fingers at each other's side. And it's like,
so I'm gonna give a really scary and unpopular opinion here, which me and Liz has argued about already. But in a way, I'm thankful for Donald Trump in this election. I hope, like, politically speaking, I hope he doesn't win, and we'll end it there. And I don't want to go too political into that, but it revealed what already existed. People,
it's bringing things to light that we need to have conversations
about people, especially in blue states and in liberal states, want to pretend that racism died 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And it never did. It just became a lot more subtle. And like, I lived in the South. I lived in the Midwest. I lived in the East Coast.
It's different, right?
It's different. But
okay, if you live in the South, like, racism in the South, you see it.
And you know.
And people are open with it, which means you can talk about it and try to come to resolutions and know where the fuck it's dangerous.
And leave.
Racism in Midwest and cities and stuff like that can be really fucking scary because it's like, it's not in the open. It's still there. And I think, like you said, Trump's bringing that shit out.
Yeah, it's like people felt safe this election cycle to reveal their colors. And I'm sure, like, let's make a full admission. There are plenty of rational Trump supporters. There are plenty of people who are doing it for purely political reasons.
Yeah,
but
class
he's also
reasons too.
But there are plenty of people that are truly bigoted, that feel like this is their moment, that they can finally let out their bigoted flag. And I should say flag, but their bigoted nature without being reprimanded for it. And I feel better knowing that I can finally identify you as being afraid to know who wants to hurt me. I don't want to go outside every day and fear, you're talking nice to my face. You're saying the nicest thing about me, but do you secretly hate me just because of my skin color? So for that, it's just like, it's good to know, because like, I mean, I have conversations with coworkers and friends who are like, man, how do you feel about this election? I can't believe all this is going on. And it's like, the honest truth is, I expected it. I believed this all existed still. You know, it's just now that everyone can see it.
It is really, it is interesting. And I do agree with you. Like, I think some of the things that have been, but the scary thing is like how close we're flying to the sun. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, I'm fucking
like,
terrified. Especially this week, I'm terrified.
Yeah, right? Woo.
Really quick though, Zaire, Stars and Bars, loaded question, because the Southern Cross is more than just, the Confederacy flag is more than just racism, and more than you're
from, you lived in the South, so you have a new perspective on this.
We live in the same county.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a Southern pride thing. I mean, granted, there is a lot of racist undertones in a lot of it, but there is more to it than just that.
But see, that's the interesting thing about symbols, and this is something I had to have a conversation with last year with someone who was a supporter of Gamergate, and it's like, you sound like a nice person. You sound like a person who has thought about this and has a great position from it. Now, symbols are an ever-shifting thing, just like language. Language can change its meaning throughout years, throughout months, throughout generations, and we adapt that language because as the words change their meaning to socially adapt to the understanding of it, we have to change our use of it with everyone else, or you become an outsider. And symbols are very similar in that way. And if you have a symbol that you're supporting and that you put your thoughts behind, and then the general populace changes that symbol, it's time to let go of that symbol and find a new one that actually represents what you want it to represent, because symbols can change. So I think it's important, thank you for the follow, that yes, that flag has a lot of different meaning, but if people take that symbol and turning it into, just like the Nazi flag started with another
the
symbol.
swastika
It was a different thing, but it got adopted. And that rebel flag, it got adopted. And the public perception of it got changed. And unfortunately, though it has much different historical significance, it did get changed. And you have to kind of just say, well, that sucks, and that's the way things are. If anything, people should have been fighting harder for it not to change its meaning. But instead, they didn't.
Oh, and it goes to a certain extent for the fact that when you feel, when you're a Southerner, for example, I use this as an example, you feel a lot of resentment and anger towards Northerners and toward the industrialized society, especially inner cities, because that's who stripped away your power, stripped away what your affluency was. And then you have politicians, you have people in power who can see people, the poor people or people are struggling, they know how to abuse that system to make them angry and resentful, and then they find an easy target. So suddenly, if you're a poor white sharecropper or poor white farmer, you can say it was those black laborers up in Detroit with the cars that took all your jobs.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the Mexicans now.
Well, yes, now it's...
They took our jobs. That's that old, great old South Park
and
sketch.
it's redirection. It's easier to make people angry at a cheap target than it is a powerful one. And they're always going to be...
Sometimes, though, it's easier to make it a powerful one that's abstract.
Yes.
Like an abstract powerful target. The big banks. The big government. Government's the enemy. The big government's the enemy. More government's bad. What do you mean about our roads being paid for and the internet and phone lines and public television and everything else that I use in an everyday standpoint? Don't give me free healthcare. Government's bad. I keep the government out of my health. But give me everything else. But keep it out of my health. You know, like certain things are such an abstract concept that it's just like they don't feel taken care of. You feel like you're missing something, and I think that's why it's really important to listen to this Trump situation. I agree with you that this kind of needed to happen in some ways, because it's showing that there is a large part of this country right now that feels unheard and untaken care of, and it's on the boiling point. And what it's done is made it how obvious other classes are feeling unheard, and not by how they've stood up to those classes that are standing up and saying it. So you have many different classes within our American society standing up and saying, yo, I'm fucking here, pay attention to me right now. And they're not going anywhere. If Trump loses, they're not going anywhere. They're fucking here. And they're still angry, and they're still going to start shaping our political system moving forward. And it needs to be like dealt with. Like, sadly, a large part of our country is still a very large part of our country is feels underrepresented, which is a scary thing to say because they are the most represented in our country, but they feel that way, and you can't change the way they feel. Like, even if facts say otherwise, you can't change the way they feel. So how do we fix that? How do we change it for the better?
It's not an easy question to answer because
you also kind of want to be like, you're so privileged, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and then at the same time, it's just change doesn't happen fast, and I feel like we live in an age where change is happening faster than it ever has before, yet it still feels glacier to us. I don't know, there's so many frustrations going on, and it's scary, to be honest.
I mean, and that's the thing. It's like everybody's angry. It's like everybody's just angry, which makes you wonder, like, what are people missing? That's the other thing too that you really start having to ask is like, what is it that people everywhere, like, what's been promised to them that's missing that makes everyone this angry? That's the other thing I always try to wonder, like, what's the root of all this? Where's this anger come from?
So I feel like in this election, and this is totally like a hip shot, I'm by no means of like sociologist or anything like that, but I feel it's because the old America, as a lot of baby boomers found it, is dying.
It is. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's whether or not we think it should die doesn't change the fact that they feel it dying.
Yes, and they feel like the PC culture, so to speak, is taking over. That they can no longer say what they meant, and it just so happens is that what they used to think, and a lot of it, is racist. And if you call them out on it, then suddenly we're offending them when they've been offensive all of our lives. That's the first aspect, and that's the first part of anger. Then the second part is the millennial anger, is where as I was promised as a child that by this time in my life, I would have a house. That I would have paid off all of my debt.
Dude, I went to get my degree because you get a degree to get a job.
And you know, this is a comic tune. I mean, I know this. Zach's in there, Malika, Liz over there, same thing. I know there's plenty of you guys in the chat room or millennials for that. We were promised an American dream like that, and suddenly we are up to our eyeballs in debt. And now we're very angry and we're really scared about that because we know that Social Security will not exist by the time we retire.
We're being blamed for everything.
And yeah, on top of that, we're being blamed for all the problems. So you have these two primary facets of society that are very angry and often at one another.
Well, that's the most interesting aspect, because as long as you're fighting with each other, you're not asking the people who are actually in charge to fix the problem. And that's what's always the funniest thing to me. It's like, really? Poor people are mad at other poor people? Are you fucking kidding me? We have a dude running for president that's a literal millionaire that bankrupts small companies, and they think he fights for them, and they're not mad at other people. I'm bringing my own personal... I can't do that. I can't bring my own personal politics into this.
That's why I'm trying to be very careful.
I know. I
really
don't want to do
close.
that. I'm an entertainer. I don't have a right to do that. But my personal feeling is like people that are like poor people being angry at other poor people, no matter what race you are, is the stupidest shit ever.
It is also one of the easiest tools to leverage as a
It's
politician.
so easy to leverage.
I mean, like, and that's the thing that's the scariest thing about all of them is that most of the people that you know in power are very well aware of how you think and feel, and they're going to use it to their advantage. And it's really disheartening to say. And it's like, this election broke my heart so many ways because there are a lot of people, in my office especially, who are a little bit younger than me. They're like 26, 25, and this is their first real election that they can affect change in. My first one was with Obama 8 years ago, so I was lucky enough to go through this one time. Like, because if you went through the second cycle for his re-election, it wasn't the same. This is the first time they had two completely new candidates, and I know a lot of them had hope because we live in a blue state, so a lot of them had the Bernie fever. They're a big Bernie Sanders fan because he had a lot of revolutionary changes that he was promising, and I knew deep down that even if he had get elected, only a small percentage of what he promised would actually happen because that's the realities of it. But just to watch their heartbreak when they realize that the political system is rigged against them, and that all these lies, not even lies, these promises would never see the light of day, and seeing their reaction to that and how they slowly became more and more jaded over the course of months, it makes you sad and it breaks your heart.
And I know somebody in the chat room said there's no such thing as white privilege, there's class privilege, and I unfortunately have to disagree with you. And it's, like I said,
Gotta dance.
I know. Like I said, there are a lot of similarities between poor white people, poor black people, poor Hispanic people. There's a lot of similarities, and they're going through a lot of the same struggles. But at the very end of the day, a poor white individual will have more rights in our current system than a poor black, poor Hispanic, poor, say, gay or transgender individual. They just will. And it's not something that is like a debatable thing. It just is.
Yeah.
Like, it's just one of those things, like, it's not a debate anymore. It just is. There's enough data, there's enough scientific research, there's enough everything. It just is, but there's...
So here's a really good example of white privilege, and I am totally gonna go this way. Think about your favorite video game character. Think about when you start a brand new game.
And when I say rights, I mean social rights.
Yeah. So yeah. Just imagine you turn on any game that you know that allows character customization. What's the first thing you're gonna get? More likely than not, it's going to be a white man. Almost.
Oh, Mario!
Well, yeah, and no, and if you go back, when your default is that person, that is inherent privilege right there, and it goes a lot more deeper than that. But that's why it's like, and it took me a long time too, because I learned. My mom is a sociologist, and she taught me to debate, and so I always play devil's advocate. I used to drive Liz fucking insane with debating. Even if I didn't believe with it, I thought I had to argue with it. And one of the big ones is privilege. And it's just like, oh no, maybe people don't realize. And the thing is that you have to first learn about this, both the male privilege, white privilege, anything like that with your power. You're not talking about you as an individual. You're talking about a systemic thing. You're talking about society. We're not trying to offend, saying that there's white privilege, thus you're a bad person because you're white, or you're a bad person because you're man. We're saying that this society gives a natural bias towards a white person, or a natural bias towards a man, just with the way it's set up.
And I think Krellin said something about, so what's the problem? Why does that make my life better if I'm default? And here's an example. We have the ability to not even realize it's a problem. I got to grow up never thinking. If I've never thought in my life, oh cool, a superhero that looks like me, I'm privileged. I never had that thought once. Why? Because every book I picked up spoke to me pretty heavily. And the fact that it doesn't mean that I'm some well-rounded individual that at a young age was able to just see past color and not even ever think about it. It's people, like Malika and AJ have had shared stories with me. And I know Malika shared stories with me where she's talked about, like, when you see it, when you realize it and somebody else does it and you see another person and you go, oh, someone like me, like even as a child, and you recognize that they're like you and they look like you, that immediate that representation means something. We have it so much that we don't even realize it. It doesn't even exist to us because it's not even a topic of conversation for us. It's just there. We don't have to think about it. It is default. And to be default, you may think is not exciting, but it does something to us psychologically. We view ourselves as the status quo, and other people, whether we realize it or not, as outliers to the status quo, and even they see themselves as outliers to the status quo if they're not default. If it has to be special for them to see someone that looks like them, that's bad. That means that's privilege. We get to just feel like we're the default.
Yeah, and like
we don't think about it.
I want to bring this up too because it's not just male, female, not sexism, not just race, but there's also things like body image. The fact that the plus sizes or extra skinny are not default too, those are unnatural, like in a lot of games, and a lot of pieces of society that you're weird or wrong for that. That's also reflection images. And to this day, it does have a systemic effect. And I know it's hard to say, like, just because they're white or just because they're male that you don't identify with them, but, like, look at The Witcher 3, for example, and that's an extreme example in a way, where there is not a single black character in that game. Part of that is because it's from a Polish company, and there are very few black people in Poland.
Yeah, a lot of Japanese games end up that
way.
way,
in that way. And from one hand, that I can understand that, but on the other, I have a hard time identifying with it. I go play video games to escape, and if I can't have someone even somewhat looking like me, it kind of makes me go, whoa, and I get immediately kind of broken from that fantasy from it. And kind of even winding further back, for a long time when I did role-playing, when I created characters, I created white characters, even though I am a black man, and I am proud to be one, but because society taught me that these hero characters or these sort of people in media and in books and in video games are white people, that's immediately what I kind of drawn to, what I kind of cling to.
And I think part of the difference there that I can understand other people like saying, and let me try to make it really clear, you guys are all really great, and we're not trying to make anyone feel guilty in any way, shape, or form. We're having a discussion to try to breathe some, like, just knowledge and shared experiences into your heads and sharing with each other in the chat. We don't want anyone to feel like we're trying to make you feel guilty or yada, yada, yada. Just trying to say that some of these things do exist whether we want them to or not. And when it comes to, like, the reason I might be able to pick up a game and play as another race of character without even giving a thought to it is because I've never had to think about it. So it is different. It is different to want that representation when your whole life you've been told and shown that you look different than the status quo. If you are the status quo, and the reality is white people in America are not going to be for very long. I think that's why we're seeing a lot of what we're seeing. They're starting to identify more as white people, as a race, because they're becoming, in a lot of states,
a race.
Because they're not the status quo anymore, and it is going to start. There is going to be some pushback in the future, which is a scary thing because, especially in states like California and Texas, like the Hispanic population is skyrocketing, and they're having to become like protective, which is a weird thing when you grow up white, because in a lot of ways there is a lot of guilt associated with people trying to abandon their history. Like most people, I'm guessing, in this chat room, because we are a very, compared to the usual on Twitch, there's a very open and honest discussion kind of room here. We were probably raised decent for the most part, and you know, I do think, and I talk to a lot with my white friends about this, there is this level of shame for your history, so we pretend it doesn't exist and we try to move on from it. So there's no cultural identity that we have. We try to escape it whatsoever. But just because we do that doesn't mean that other people don't want it and need it within their lack of representation in our media and our industry and our games and our art and everything else. We've always had it, so it just exists for us. So it isn't as weird for me to just pick up a game and play as an Asian woman or to play as a black man. Now, that's not the same for all white people. Some of them freak out, obviously, because they're making a big huff and puss about Watch Dogs. But for most of my friends, we're all kind of like, but that's because we've never had to think of it as race, because we don't have to deal with race as an issue. So
one thing I kind of want to address, and it's something that I learned from Liz, my wife, is and it's the first thing that is the hardest to learn, and I'm gonna kind of put it through the lens of feminism, because that's how I learned through it. Because being black, I was black my entire life, so I'm in the minority in that particular one. But as a man, it's uncomfortable at first trying to talk about privilege, because you immediately feel guilt or shame or something like that, even if you're not personally responsible for it necessarily. But you kind of have to identify that there are histories, there's things that happened in the past. You don't have to throw away the baby with the bathwater, so to speak. You have to identify history is both good and bad. There are things to be very proud of and things not to be. You have to identify that there are good aspects of your past, but there can be problematic ones too, and just realize that this was a bad thing. Let's identify that and try not to replicate it in the future.
Yeah,
and
there is a lot of us pushing shit under the rug and
and I
refusing
think
to address it.
I think that's a very easy thing to do, where you're saying, oh, I am a man, therefore let's throw away all these gender stereotypes that we have in our head, and then say they're all bad, let's throw them away. That's almost as problematic as ignoring it altogether.
So, and that's the thing we're trying to say in Ultras. To you, Geralt wasn't a white guy, he was just a guy. But I'm going to guess and go out on a limb here that you're also white. That's what I'm trying to say. If you are told your whole life you're the status quo, you don't have to think about it, because you're not told that you're different. You don't have to think about race. So it's different. Our mindsets are different because we don't have to it's not that we're not seeing race, it's that we're not sensitive to it because we haven't been told that we need our whole lives that we're different. So it's not a constant, that's how we're privileged in some ways. We don't have to think about race. We don't have to think how people are going to look at us when we try to do certain things in our culture. We don't have to be as scared when a cop pulls us over. And if you try to act like that's not a real fear that some people in this country have, then we're not being honest with ourselves about the situations people are in right now. It's different for us, and it's one of those things. I understand how it's hard for, because I know we do have a primarily white male audience in our chat room. We know that. And it's something that's hard to, because you're all good people, and I get it, that it's hard to hear, and it's tough to face these things, because it's like, wait, I'm not like that. Does it really exist? But yeah, it.
Yeah.
Does.
So not so out. Sorry if I just butcher your name, because I'm terrible with names. But yeah, you bring up a point that if Geralt was drawn black or white, would that make the game different? In a way, no, but at the same time, you have to look at the entire setting of the Witcher world. There is not a single black character in a positive light.
Yeah. It's
not just about Geralt, it's the entire world. There is no one in a way to identify with. And I know that shouldn't matter. And there's this concept of a thing called post-racial society, and that's what we like to identify, and go for. But the thing is that will never exist. I look in the mirror, I see a black man every day. If I go into these fantasy worlds and we see no black people, especially no black protagonists or heroes, they're only villains. And especially, look at Game of Thrones. That's another good example in the TV show. In that world, the black people are either slaves or pirates. They're terrible people. There are no nobilities. There's no great kings in that case. Then you look at the mirror and you have, especially when you're young, and you internalize this to a certain extent, and you don't even know you might be doing this. You go, is there something wrong with me? Am I, because I'm born, am I supposed to not aspire to be a hero? Should I just aspire to be a pirate?
Which is my argument with a lot of like the issues with people are having with comic books, where people are like, oh, we're shoehorning new races in. Should they just be doing that? It's like, it might be shoehorning to you, but a couple years from now, you're gonna have a generation of kids who were super excited that they had someone they could call heroes like them, and it means a lot. And I know Krellin's kind of saying like like I can't relate, because what I'm not trying to say, Krellin, that you are like this. Understand, we're not talking to you, Krellin. It's not about you. We're not saying you, Krellin, should feel bad. You are you might not see things this way. That's fine. But to act like it doesn't exist in the entire country as a whole is being like, I don't want to use the word ignorant because it's a hard word, but it is kind of like you're ignoring what's in front of you, the country as a whole. So it might not be you. That's fine. But we're not talking about one individual in the chat room. We're talking about...
Yeah, and I think that's one of the core components when we're talking about issues of cited issues, is you have to divorce the individual from the systemic issue. When we talk about, like I said, once again, we talk about privilege, we talk about rape culture, we're not talking, when we say you, or we talk about, wow, I totally forget the term suddenly, the patriarchal society. We were talking about feminism. We're not talking that there is a magical man at the top. We're talking about how it is structured to inherently biased to certain people, and it might not even be an active or conscious bias. It's just what exists because of generations and generations of tradition. And like I said, it waxes and wands for every issue, but usually there is a common thread. And there's a lot of research into this. I kind of want to caveat this is I'm a novice at best. Everything I've learned, I'm still learning it. So there is the research there. If anyone wants materials, to shoot me a Twitter, I can start finding links for them. Because it's get deeper, and it's unfortunately a lot more complicated than it seems on surface. And it's very easy to kind of dismiss it as overreaction. And it's very easy to dismiss as, since I don't feel this way, because I'm in the person of power, that it doesn't exist, or that I am not fully cognizant of it.
I think there's so many points that there's like, it always creates a really great discussion, because it's a hard conversation to have, especially when it's a conversation that's 70% white guys. You know, like it's hard because there is this like always going to be this level of like, and I get it. I get it. There's always going to be, you're on the defense first because you're like, whoa.
That is... Alright, so once again, whenever I frame this, I'm gonna always frame it in terms of sexism and feminism, because that's the only way I can get into my privilege chair. Because it's a lot harder for me to do with the racism because I am a black man. But as a man, the very first thing I always feel when I hear issues of feminism is, whoa, not all guys. I know not all men is a trope. Because that's the immediate feeling I feel. It's like, I don't do this thing.
Yeah.
And that is a weird feeling. And
it is a weird one, because you get on the defense first, because it's like, well, don't identify me with that. I mean, like, not gonna lie, like, there are like certain tools that get used to get yourself, like, you're like, oh shit, how do I not get associated with this thing? You know, I in some ways I understand their defense, because, you know, I am a, you know, cisgender white male that goes into a lot of diverse situations, and I feel that it's like, I get it, I know, I'm coming in as an outsider, I don't understand completely the plight, and I understand that I'm not, you know, I'm not gonna get it, and I just have to be honest that I'm not gonna get it, and try to understand and listen, not be like, this is how you feel.
Yeah.
That's the biggest clue I would say, is like, we don't, if you are another white male like myself, understand it's easy for us to sit on the outside and say that's not how it is, but just listen, and because we know what our experiences are like, and that's all we know, and it's better to listen to other people and take for credit their experiences on Twitch and every other platform and how they've had to experience things.
And it's like, I guess what I also want to say too is that I didn't want to bring this up to make people feel like they're attacked or they feel defensive, because that's not the point of this. It's kind of just the beginning of an honest conversation.
Most people don't. It's probably just one or two people.
I just want to say that because I do apologize for that to a certain extent. Everyone's entitled to their opinions, right or wrong. I just think it behooves everyone to just try to get more informed about it, because it is a very deep subject and it's one of the most divisive things currently going on in society today. It's a core argument of what's going on in our current election, both for race and for sexism. Like, both of those things, you can clearly see them in this current election cycle. It's never as black and white as the candidates people want you to think. And it's never as easy to fix as people want you to think. Thank you so much for the resub.
Yeah, thank you for that. I know a lot of people have started talking about like how there's a couple people in the chat room who identify as Asian, and they've just started feeling the lack of representation in the media coming to America. This is it's always interesting to see everyone else's other conversations, because that's the other thing too. Like, that's why we do this show in a lot of ways, because collectively we all have a lot of experiences that are unique. We're all extremely unique. And also understand when we're talking about these things, we're talking about generalizations, which is dangerous. It's dangerous to talk about generalizations. It's extremely dangerous when you're doing it in such a confined space like this, because none of you might identify with those generalizations. You know, like some people saying that they grew up in a part of the country where they're surrounded by lots of different cultures and colors of people, and it's like, and that might be true for you as an individual, that where you're from. Or there's probably, like, I saw somebody in the chat room saying that they went from a small town to being the only white kid in a black neighborhood and felt that fear of being different the whole time they were there. And that is like, for you, that's your experience that defines who you are. And that is a unique experience that should be appreciated and listened to. But when we're talking about the country as a whole from a statistical standpoint, and you look at how the country is divided, most people didn't have that experience. Most people who identify as white male in this country live secluded from other races and other cultures, and are kind of ignorant to the plight of other individuals around them. And I don't think that they're bad people, and I want to make that really, really fucking clear. You have a lot of people that play off people's fear, and they're not bad people. I learned, like, that was the thing that I used to challenge all the time when I was growing up. Like, one of my favorite stories ever, and I look back down, I'm like, dude, that was pretty fucking naive and stupid, and somebody could have got seriously hurt. But I was, when I went through that college age of like, I'm gonna challenge people's, their comfort levels and stuff like that. When I was 19, the first college I went to, a junior college, I was the ball boy for the volleyball team. Mm-hmm. It was a all black female volleyball team, almost every one of them over 6 feet tall and mean as fucking hell. And I love those girls, and I was like, we should go floating. I want to take you guys where I'm from, and let's go floating. And they were all really scared, and they were like, I don't know if we want to go down there. We've heard horror stories, like not to go outside of town and stuff like that. I was like, no, it'll be fine. If you're with me, we're fine. But I did know that it was going to be a challenge for that environment, and that people were going to say things. And, but it was also like this social experiment that was really interesting, because nobody's going to fuck with that group. That's a group of 20 girls that look like they could bench press a fucking Buick. Like, they're badasses. They're fucking badasses. And to come into that, like, down south town and, like, yes, there were, I think, 2 comments said on that trip. And I think Tanahi, she's this Samoan girl. I think at one point some guy said something and she stood up in her canoe, and that guy did this kind of thing, like, got the fuck out of there. And it was pretty naive for young me to do, but it's also interesting to, like, those things exist. They fucking exist. And we act like they don't sometimes, but They just do. But I don't think a lot of people are bad people. They're ignorant to the plight of others, and they're ignorant to other people being people. Everyone's painted as a fucking villain to them. You have, like you said, people saying this side did this. These people took our jobs. Blah, blah, blah this and blah, blah, blah that. Rather than everyone being like, oh, I am just like this individual. We have similar thoughts and wishes. We have the same dreams of the American dream. Everyone's bought into the same bullshit dream. And, you know, like, I saw people doing some of the nicest, selfless things I've ever seen in the Midwest. If you were another white Christian individual. And that doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't mean that they don't love other people. They've just bought into this bullshit system around them that tells them that's the way it is. And they don't have any gauge for not thinking that way, because all they have is the media. And if people try to act like the media isn't extremely powerful, well, because you might have access to a world outside of it. Like, you might have access to a very cultural hotbed of young thinking individuals, or the internet, or things like that. You go to the middle of the fucking country and you step outside of somebody's door who doesn't have those things. It is the most powerful tool. The absolute most powerful tool in existence is what's on the fucking news. And if all it is a very specific depiction of what is normal. Ozai 75, that might be true for you. I know where I grew up in the middle of nowhere, some of the nicest people I've ever met my entire life, but if you start getting them talking about race or homosexuality, you hear some really scary, hateful things, and they're some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life.
I mean, I always fall back to Samuel Clemens' adage, which is, you know, if you don't read the news, you're uninformed. If you read the news, you're misinformed. And I use that in this particular example because people will hold on to their beliefs. They will use engagement bias, confirmation bias to find news pieces and things that affirm their beliefs that they grew up with. They will never see the other side at a young age, and thus will take it to adulthood. And I bring that up because it doesn't necessarily just have to be from a small town. I've seen a lot of this stuff in inner cities as well. And I've seen this in in suburbs. It's a universal problem.
Sometimes cities are really bad because there's like the city has segregated people to such an extent that.
I mean, you can just look at, to a nerd example, you can just look at the Netflix series for the superhero series. Take a look at Harlem. There was a very cognizant choice that there is almost no white people in that show. Mm-hmm. And it's true, because Harlem for the longest time has been segregated, and it went through a period of gentrification that was very, very hard fought against, where people wanted to keep Harlem black. I mean, you have to think about that for a while. Like, I'm gonna just leave that there, because is that racist? Then you actually have to dive into what racism is. As a minority, can you be racist against the majority? Yes or no? And then
that's a conversation that's too advanced for this show.
That gets like
there's some things that are too advanced. Yeah. That one's too advanced.
Oh,
Chronos Mom!
Subscriber.
And I'm sure they're actually gonna probably start that argument without us, but it's a tough one. Thank you for that sub. Quick reminder to all the people that might be watching right now, if you originally subscribed with Twitch Prime to our channel, you might need to not relink your Prime account, but it doesn't auto-renew, so you're gonna have to hit that sub button again to keep your resub train going to get those loyalty badges that we're working on. Otherwise, if you don't do it I think you have a 15-day grace period, honestly.
Please resubscribe. This place is awesome.
Yeah.
But kind of to step back to level, is that these discussions about societal issues, racism, sexism, body issues, cultural, religion, they get deep and they get deep fast. So I usually think of it as kind of college level courses where it's best to kind of talk about the shallow issues, get a good firm understanding before you go deeper. Because if you try to go straight into the deep end,
I'm sorry, I barely missed that resub. Sorry, that was the individual that actually designed Lanterns. Was like, hey, I designed the game. Thanks for playing on tabletop. Awesome. Thank you for designing a fun game. I knew I wasn't gonna win. It's fine.
I have a question for them.
You should ask them in the chat. They're in the chat.
Okay.
Just find the resub thing. Just scroll up. Okay, sorry, dude. I didn't mean
It
that.
was about racism, though.
So, Flying Cooper comment, why he sounds racist to me, actually, that's a very deep issue because I don't even know if I want to bring it up. Because there's a whole school of thought that those in the minority cannot be racist because racism and sexism is a systemic oppression of those in the minority. And I think I misquoted that.
But that's what's interesting to me. So I've been in relationships with people in the past who do not identify as white, like say someone Hispanic from Mexico.
Yeah.
And Mexicans are extremely racist towards Guatemalans or some other countries that are coming in from the south. And it's a big problem in their country. It's a huge problem in their country. And then when they're coming to America, they're bringing some of that with them. And if by being in America, you know, and I know Strix is saying racism is systematic, bigotry is individual, and
Thank you for that, by
that's the
way, Strix.
most easy kind of, but I think sometimes when we're talking about it with a really large group, it goes back to like, what does a word actually mean? And when a society adapts a word as a symbol to a certain level, the meaning of that word can change a little bit outside of academia. So there's always like the academia aspect of things, which if you adhere to the academia aspect, it's a little, things can sometimes be more cut and dry, but where the rest of the world usually operates outside of academia. So how do we approach it to a level that's kind of like, for the layman's kind of like regular people hanging out, you know, yo, is this racist kind of aspect?
Honestly, like, just hitting into academia and learning that is kind of brought up my horizons a lot more. Because you will never, at least for me, I will never get a satisfactory answer of why we do things a certain way just by the common knowledge. Just because I don't want to say, why do I feel uncomfortable? Like, we'll go back to The Witcher 3. Why should I feel uncomfortable playing a white guy in an all-white world if we were supposed to live in a post-racial society? The simple answer is I shouldn't be, because we shouldn't look at color. That's the simple, pure baseline. But there's a lot more going into it than that.
Well, you can't change the fact that your whole life you've been told to identify as a black man.
Yeah, and that's why you have to honestly dig deeper, and it takes a lot of effort. This is an issue that it takes a lot of self-reflection. It takes a lot of thinking about it.
It's, again, they're really heavy topics, but they warrant discussion in a way that is like not pointing anyone out or trying to like knock anyone down, because everyone's gonna have different thoughts on it. That is for sure, and everyone's gonna have different experiences with it.
Yeah, and do not discount people's lived experience too. Like, I cannot emphasize that enough. Do not tell someone that what they felt is invalid. If they felt that, it's just as real as anything else. So please do not, like, if someone says, I felt someone's being racist against me, I felt like I was being prejudiced against, don't say you're wrong, because that's them. That's what they felt. There is, just because you might not feel the same does not mean it's any less real for them. Just keep that in mind, and I just wanted to be very strong in that opinion. Also, really quickly, I want to make a shout out to the Strix who's in here. I may not be a scholar, she is. So just shout out. So if she's correcting me, please listen to her over me, because she's done a lot of studying over this. So really quick for that.
Well, I wonder if I should go back to some of the questions in Discord.
It's been a while. We went on a very long one.
On a very long tangent, like a really long one. In fact, we're like getting close to the end of the show. Yeah,
like I am always happy to talk about this. By the way, my only rules, honestly, is we have to have a civil discourse. It's not an easy subject, I want to say, and it makes you feel a lot. It's not easy for those who are in the minority because they have felt the lived experience of having to deal with this. And it's not easy for those in privilege either, in a way, because it makes you feel uncomfortable. It makes you realize, perhaps I'm doing things wrong, and no one wants to feel in the wrong. In the end of the day. And honestly, like, I'll also say I'm open to these conversations too, because a lot of times it's very hard as a person in the majority to find people to answer these questions for you. It's not a good thing to find the one black friend and say, hey, what do you feel about black issues? That's a lot of pressure to put on a person.
Jordan Stoner XD, thank you for that follow.
Thank you so much for the follow. It's not kosher just to say, hey, you're a woman, tell me about feminism right now, even though you have to answer it 5 times already. there's a time and a place for it, and so like I said, I'll open myself up to this. If you want to talk more about this, we'll find a place. We'll have we have a great Discord. We can talk about it there. Is these conversations?
You want to make sure you're there though. Sometimes when they're left on their own, woohoo!
When you're left on your own, it's a very lonely place. Like I know for a fact, if I didn't have Liz, I would be fucking lost when it comes, because she can like tell. Like I have questions. I ask her every day about issues of feminism, and I've been doing this for the last few years, and I feel like I know barely anything at all. And there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to learn. So.
You know, I completely agree with Green-Eyed Trombonist on this, that a lot of arguments boil down to a disagreement on definition. I think semantics are the #1 reason we don't agree on a lot of stuff, and that's, in some ways, why academia can get on my nerves a little bit, because if we sometimes reduce things down without a discussion, and I'm not saying, by saying academia, I'm not saying anyone here is doing that. I just think sometimes it can get reduced down to a term, and if people don't identify with that term or that definition of that term, it cheapens the conversation for them because it doesn't speak to them and they don't understand it, and it doesn't mean anything to them, and semantics get in the way, and you might actually think the same fucking thing. You might be on the exact same level and you just have no fucking clue.
And thank you, Ozai, for story. And I've been reading these kind of sites, even though
I'm not calling you out, Strix. That's why I had to follow that up with that next part, because I knew you would be like, wait, you're not talking about me.
It's just a lot to unpack. We got deep. I thought honestly when we got into this at the very beginning, I was like, we're gonna probably go deep a little bit, and we're gonna go deep about medical issues because that's what me and Zach have in common a lot. I thought we were gonna go really deep into that. I didn't really think we were gonna go into race. I don't know why. There's nothing else.
But that's an interesting point. You say, okay, for the people who say that we're not privileged, you know how many times we've had white people on the show and we haven't talked about race?
No, that actually brings up a kind of side
You're
argument.
here and we end up talking about it because we have a chat room filled with white people that's like, AJ, let's talk about this. Why is that the first thing? Why is that what we end up talking about most of the night? Like, that's kind of
I think it's both a good and a bad thing.
I do. I think it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I think it's just...
Yeah, it's good. I mean, so one thing is called tokenization. The fact that I am offhand kind of the primary black face on this show. I shouldn't say black face, but the black skinned individual on the show. We have a couple other brown skinned people and they can give their own things, but as a black man, I think I'm the only person that's consistently on it.
Not for without trying.
It's
fuck you, Seattle.
Seattle, you have to find the black people. That sounds really racist right there, but it's just like
it's not your fault that's like statistically they're hard to find.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder than most other places, and that's partially because of the job situation, blah 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 blah. But anyway, the tokenization point I wanted to make is that I don't want to seem like I am the authority on African American issues because I did not go to school for it. I only have lived experiences and answers I've asked in my own personal life. And that's kind of the dangers you have with tokenization, is that you get the one person to talk about it and they become authority on it. And so that's why I say I would love to talk about this, but don't take just my word for it. Find out for yourself. Because I could be wrong about so many things. And I think that's good for any point in life, is don't just trust what you hear. Verify.
And I will say the other reason we haven't talked about these issues is because I would not feel comfortable having a conversation about race with a couple white people sitting in these chairs. Because it comes from a place of privilege
yeah.
and it wouldn't be an honest discussion.
Yeah,
it would be an attempt at it, but it wouldn't be.
Thank you so much. But and also, it feels a little bit weird to talk about issues of feminism without a woman on the panel here. The only reason I'm kind of doing it is because it's my lived experience, and then Liz is over there, and I'm looking directly at her for some of these things.
So if you say something wrong...
Yeah, if I say something stupid, she would know that I say something stupid.
Bullshit! I've been sitting here looking at my phone.
Well, I can see from your reactions, too.
I know if Malika heard something she didn't agree with, we'd get yelled at, so...
But yeah, and that's my thing. It's like, you should never have a discussion about... a minority group, whether that be women, whether that be people of color, whether that be if we're talking about sexual orientation, you should have representation of that group in there to have.
I don't know if I agree completely with that, because then people won't have conversations.
I think you need to be in a place of comfort. I think that we are privileged in this group. We have a tight thumper family.
We do.
and that allows it, but it's really a dangerous territory to exclude them.
I think it's dangerous. I don't think you should exclude, but I don't want to say that people who don't have access shouldn't have a conversation with their peers.
Okay, yeah, I can agree with that.
Because I do feel like if that doesn't happen at all, like I'm very fortunate that my parents had these conversations with me when I was younger, and that we talked about these things despite us having zero representation. Like Ozark County, Missouri, when I grew up there, had not one other person living there that was not white Caucasian in the entire county. That is an entire county of 100% white Caucasian. I had nothing. So if my parents didn't have those conversations with us as kids, we wouldn't have been able to have some sort of reference point, and it was important that they had them despite our lack of representation. So I think sometimes it's more about like, yeah, obviously you shouldn't have these conversations as an authority of their feelings and their positions without someone giving you a proper definition and representation. You don't want to act as if you're the expert on it, but as far as trying to understand and have a better position on it, I think it's a good conversation to have, even if you don't.
All right, yeah.
I'd rather people be talking about it than not, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best definition of that. Yeah.
Somebody wants to know how you take care of your nails.
Yes, I saw that, Geika. These are natural, and Liz hates me for them because apparently I have really naturally good nails. If you guys don't notice, I have nail polish on right now. I went to that murder mystery, and then I asked Twitter if I should keep it on, and they said yes. Yeah, man itself, it was very scary. Yeah.
Well, it's now midnight, which is the time we've been ending these lately because I tell myself I have to. And
You
I'm
can go
trying-
on all night for these.
Oh, man.
Oh, well, I have work in the morning too, so I should probably wind down.
Chaos Lucas.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the follow. Very much appreciated. Guys, thank you all for tuning in tonight, for watching, for subscribing, for resubscribing, for bidding, for tipping, for having an adult conversation on the internet. You guys
We had
make
civil
this job
conversation.
worth it. You guys make it worth it. Area 51 Games, I'm not gay, but my brother is, and whatever. Doesn't matter. You remember times where HH with Zach and Alex lasted 2 hours from now? Yeah, there was a time, but I have a Malika in my life who gets mad that I spend all of my time here, and she has a right to. So, work-life balance. I'm slowly trying to learn to allow 6 hours of my day to not be work. And by that I mean the time I'm supposed to be sleeping.
You have a problem, my friend. It's called workaholic. Like,
Malika's not giving me a good look right now.
I want to say something. So,
It's not very comforting right now. I feel really scared on the inside.
so I think you guys all know that I work at HBS at this point. If you don't, I work at Hairbrain Schemes. They make Battletech and Shadowrun.
So Knacker, just subscribe!
Oh my god, we get to dance one more time.
Oh, great.
3, 2, 3, 2, 1, and... Damn it.
Thank you, Navigado, for that follow.
Where's the music?
Yeah, where's the music at? It's gonna start right when I, stop talking, aren't they?
Hey, Kaminde, you said you won't use your Twitch Prime here. You'd rather pay for it. Dude, to us, we get the same amount from a Twitch Prime subscribe as we do a normal subscribe, so don't think about it that way, man. Same amount.
Subscriber.
You're off camera. You guys missed that. TOS.
Money.
Thanks for being an awesome
Thanks for
channel
coming in.
where we can have serious conversations. Keep up the great work.
Thanks for that, Silence the Deep. And speaking of serious conversations, tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Hey, Brown Man, thank you for that follow. Tomorrow night, 6 p.m., weekly affirmations with Strix. New time.
So excited.
So new time. You guys should tune in for that if you like these kinds of adult conversations. Strix explores a lot of interesting aspects of indie gaming and freeform RPGs, and it's always a trip, so you should tune in for that. So, Oh my gosh.
They're doing Bluebeard's Bride, which, if you haven't checked it
Killing
out,
it on Kickstarter right
yes, please go check it out on Kickstarter if you haven't
Killing
yet. It is an amazing RPG. And I'm sure you guys can get a link from people in the chat if you don't know yet. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much, Ozai. Thank you so much to everyone. If I haven't said your name yet, it's because you guys say so many good things that I have to keep track of them all. I'm a programmer, damn it, not a talker.
I'm now a professional talker and it's sad. It makes me
Thank you so much for the resub.
Alright guys and gals and things, we
Out. But yes,
everybody's in the chat, all y'alls, we are gonna do a raid to close out the night. I'm so tired and I won't be able to sleep. I'm gonna be so frustrated tomorrow. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Hey!
money.
Thanks, AJ and Zach.
Thank you. And like I said, if you're on Discord, just say hi to me, talk to me. I'm open to talking about this anytime. If you don't feel comfortable talking about it in public, private message me. I'm also on Twitter at Algernon Bolden. Feel free to do that. Don't bother him because he's busy. He has so many things to do. I say hi to him sometimes and he's like, ah! Literally, he just screams at me.
Shut up, man. It's whatever. I mean, it happens. Alright, who we raiding tonight? Going through. You know what? Number 1 Alex is playing a charity marathon and he's playing Mario right now.
Yes.
So that's what you should go watch.
Number 1.
First found out about them.
Alright, guys. Alright, guys. You're gonna go raid the number 1 Alex. Can you guys get that raid command up in chat? You get that raid command up in chat.
And yes, Lemire, I will definitely talk to you about that soon.
Oh, that's right. Next Wednesday, it's gonna be bronze on Honesty Hour.
Oh shit! That's gonna get real.
You gotta say what channel we're raiding when you put that in there. All right, number 1 Alex, guys.
Bye bye.
Are you ready? So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna announce my resub in the chat room, and that's your cue. Once that resub hits in his chat, you get on it. You get on it. So I'm gonna try to time when I think they'll get my lag. So I'm gonna be like, go! Go raid! Go! Have fun! Have fun! And I'm counting it down. I'm gonna like.
How's the dance?
Hey, what's up, Snarf? How you doing?
Go! Did it! Boom! There it goes. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Hosting. We gotta host it.
Am I supposed to get a piece of it?
Host it. Ah, no! I hit the wrong button. Ah, damn it!
I'm still dancing. Good night.
No! Somebody host it. My phone is stupid.
Oh my god, yo. Jeez. HyperRPG, thank you so much for the 7 months. Can we get some knees in the chat, please? Jeez, it's a crazy rate.
Tired.
So guys, how you guys doing? Dang. That's a lot of people coming in. Jeez. Hi. My name's Alex.
There. I saw it.
Got
I saw it.
Did it.
Oh god.
Alright, I'm not offline yet. Not offline yet.